Yuri mentioned indeed. Hello. How are we doing? I'm trying to put earrings on and I think I fucked it up. I'm not used to these kinds of hoop ones. That really hurt. Hello. Let me switch to my normal BGM real quick. Oh shit, that's too loud. Because the music is so beautiful, it's a little distracting, to be honest. I need something more lo-fi. While I was installing this today, I found out Ebihime, the developer, I think we've played an Ebihime game on stream before, guys. I think it was the Yuri fairy tale one. It Gets So Lonely Here. I'm pretty sure that's Ebihime as well. I should double check though. Yuri time! Hi Shin! That's a nice one. Thank you. I agree, it is a very nice blouse. I really wanted to, I felt like I should dress on theme for lesbian vampires. I also realized as I was looking up, like screenshots, I think I might need to label this one 18 plus. Oh, it's not letting me. You know what? Usually Twitch will force me to say 18 plus if I select the category and it's an 18 plus category. Maybe I'm okay. I saw some screenshots where I was like, I don't know if that's like, you know, like it was like pretty raunchy. So I was like, I might need to label this one mature. Unclear. Aurora, hello. You love her VNs. I feel like Ebihime like releases stuff at a rate that is just kind of mind-blowing. And not only that, this is released by, it's published by 2.5 Studios, the people behind A Date with Death, which I know we also loved a lot as a chat. So did I put them on in the right? Don't these feel appropriate for a lesbian vampire visual novel? I think so. I bought them because I thought they looked cool, and then my friend was like, those are Game of Thrones references. And I was like, what? I didn't know. Oh shit. I just thought they looked cool. They have a lot of nice games. They do. And I think it's really exciting that it's like effectively a collaboration between two names that I think know in the VN space really well. Yeah. The fit is making you look like lesbian Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. I don't know what that is, but that sounds like a good thing. Effie, welcome. Santiago, welcome to YouTube chat. Hello. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? I'm a little warm today, so I've made myself an icy cold drink. I've been looking forward to this visual novel for like so long, but I wanted to start with The Last Winter Night. Because I had told the developer I would play it on release, so I had made a promise I wanted to honor, even if it was technically making you guys watch heterosexuals during Pride Month, which frankly felt a little bit criminal. I'm even wearing like a mermaid skirt, guys. Me who never wears skirts, I'm wearing like a mermaid. You can't even see it, but I was like, I should get like proper dressed up. You can't see it, but I'm dressed up. Here to say hi and then run back to work and make sure kids don't throw basketballs at each other. See, Drago Arts, are you a teacher? Thanks for stopping in. It's like a nerdy familiar, one of the vampires. Oh, ready for the Taco Bell mukbang. When are we doing that? Triple Horses. I'll make you guys vote. We'll finish Skirt Quest tomorrow, and then I'll make you guys vote if we do the kin assign immediately or if we wait for, because technically there's one more chapter-ish. Because the Nod Cry prelude goes back to Notlan, right? So we'll see. Okay, oh my god, I realized that because I'm wearing a skirt, I usually like cross my legs. I can't do that because the skirt's too restrictive. Fuck. I don't know, I think when I'm playing a Yuri VN, I should be allowed to sit like a gay person. I want pasta, but I'm stuck at work. Oh no, shit. I hope you're able to get pasta after work. The cheesy gordita crunch. I have never, wait, that's not true. I've had Taco Bell, I think once that I can remember. So I don't actually know. Also, Sapporo's right here. She's just stretched. It's very cute. I don't know if she's gonna dip the moment I start talking a little louder, so maybe we'll keep the vibing today. You're a great streamer and cosplayer. Thank you, Santiago. I appreciate that. I too sit crisscross in a chair. I literally, you see how wide this chair is? I bought this to sit crisscross in. Like, it's literally designed for people who sit crisscross applesauce. So it's kind of criminal that I can't do that. I hadn't anticipated that this skirt was gonna be an issue. Okay, hold on. If I hike it up a little. Distinctly unladylike of me, but you guys can't see it anyway. Okay, now I'm sitting crisscross. I'm much more comfortable now. Watching my national team duck it with the Uzbeks. Ooh, well, the World Cup is still going, right? My news podcast was covering it this morning. My local news podcast, because there's a bunch of, like, I'm pretty close to San Jose in NorCal. I feel like the San Pedro area has been really litty recently. They like sectioned out a whole area of the outdoors just for non-stop World Cup watch parties. Ultimate skirt betrayal. This is why I don't wear skirts very often. They tend to be very restrictive. Even the flowy ones, I'm like, the fabric gets in the way, and I'm really fidgety. I mean, you guys can probably tell. I'm really fidgety, and so it always gets in the way. Happy belated Venti birthday, Michari! I meant to post an old Venti cosplay photo that I never posted, where he like looks like a drunkard and is holding a bottle of like Deluxe Winery wine. My friend like custom printed labels for a wine bottle, so we were passing it around during the photo shoot. This was like 4 years ago probably. Never posted the photo. I used it on stream before. I think I use it every time I do like a Venti cosplay stream. I never posted it, so I was like, oh, I'll post that, and then I didn't. The ADHD kind of took over yesterday. I locked in really hard on a bunch of other projects, and then forgot about Venti's birthday. I'm a fake Venti fan. Well, I logged in and I read his letter and I cried, and then I forgot about it for the rest of the day. And then I also wanted to audition for the Mirage Noir voice acting. They went in 3 rounds, and the 3rd round had some characters I wanted to audition for, and I forgot. And the deadline was yesterday. So sometimes I lock in too hard. It is what it is. Happy Yuri! Yay, Yuri! Well said, Toy Fairy! I love wearing skirts because I find them more freeing. Ha ha ha, opposites. Yeah, I think they're more freeing depending on like how you move and walk. I can see that. For me, like, I have super thick thighs. If I don't wear like shorts under the skirt, then I get really bad like chafing. But then with the shorts under the skirt, it's kind of like too many layers and it's too warm. And I live in California, so that's not good. And then most of my skirts don't have pockets, so that kind of sucks. And then there's just either too much fabric or too little fabric. And then I can't like sit in all of the ways I normally sit. So because of that, I own skirts and I almost never wear them. The sweat between the thighs, exactly. That's why that's what causes the chafing. Because if that were nice and dry and unsweaty, then it would not be an issue. But I'm literally sweating as we speak. So. Skirts have pockets. Skirts often have pockets. Yeah, a lot of the ones I nowadays often don't buy skirts unless they have pockets. Dresses too. Even my formal dresses have pockets, which is pretty crazy to think about, actually. They're really thin, breathable shorts that I use if I have to. Yeah, I use my like running shorts, like exercise shorts. But even then, it's like, it like bunches up, and then the shorts have pockets, but the skirt doesn't. And then like lifting the skirt all the way up to reach the shorts pocket is like not the vibe. Really just not. I'm physically unsuited for wearing skirts. Did it anyway today. Venti birthday on Pride Month? Sus. Okay, but it's also Marius's birthday from Tears of Themis. I spent like $50 in Tears of Themis today. Because they had a special like spending incentive thing. They were like, if you hit $50, I think it's $55 in total spend, we'll give you like these freebies. And then I was like, bet. I wanted to roll the banner anyway. So I patched. I'm literally launching it right now. I patched Tears of Themis for the first time in like a month, because it's gonna be Marius's birthday, and then the anniversary's coming up soon for the game, which always means that like something big is gonna happen with Rosa. I believe this is the year they're getting married. So I don't know what happens after that in a dating sim. Like after you get married, what is there left? I don't know. The rest of your beautiful relationship, I guess. It's the top loader I saw. What top loader, Bamboo? Pride tax. Exactly. Is it though? I was like, exactly. And then I was like, pretty sure Rice is, well, it's probably not straight, to be fair. I don't headcanon him as straight. That wouldn't make any sense. I gotta describe this even though I don't wear skirts. It's super smooth, silk-like, no pockets. There isn't enough loose fabric for it to bunch up if you get the right size. No chafing at all. Like are those your shorts or your... Not enough loose fabric for it to bunch up if you get the right size. I honestly have never worn shorts that didn't bunch up. Like, I think you may be underestimating the power of really thick thighs. Like, really thick thighs. Like, when I send my measurements to seamstresses for custom cosplay orders, they're like, did you mismeasure? And I'm like, no. Because they're like, but your waist is... I'm like, yes. Like, your waist is like this big and your thighs are like this. I'm like, yes. And I have to like triple confirm with them. Like, are you sure you took this? Like, it's that bad. I once got a Love Live cosplay that had like a thigh band. I think it was the idolized Shibhal ones. And I got Nozomi and Umi. And then I remember the Nozomi had like a thigh band thing. And the thigh band literally, like it had Velcro and it had stretch. Like it had forgiveness in it. And literally at the end of the Velcro strip and the end of I stretched it as wide as I could. And it was still about 3 to 4 inches, not enough fabric. I had to get in there and like seam rip the Velcro off, add black fabric. So it was just like this awkward, because it was like a brocade, like cool texture. No, the Velcro couldn't even reach, Leishan. Like it was so like I don't know how to explain to people just how out of proportion my thighs are. Like it's not normal. Not even within the realm of normalcy. So 100 channel last year and decided to say thank you for sticking around. It's the wedding anniversary. I have all the wedding merch. Wait, Orange, you have all the rings and stuff too? Because I was strongly considering getting them. I don't know. I don't know if I got it in me to order from Taobao right now because of the tariffs. It's crazy. Velcro cannot even begin to hang on. No, the Velcro was like 4 inches too far away to hang on. When I did Taishan impression Fu Hua for the Hoyo Fair concert, I ended up basically taking apart the entire pre-made Doki Doki one and resewing it along all the seams. Yeah. Was it too small, Asuna? That's why when I get Chinese cosplays nowadays, I often size up. I have to, actually. I have to size up because the things that fit my upper body do not fit my lower body. So I size up like 2 sizes for my legs and hips, and then take in the top as needed. When I wore my Vil cosplay, the Luxe Couture one, the purple one, the pants literally exploded. Like there's a huge gap. Like, I couldn't squat in them. Every time I like dropped something and I bent over to pick it up, I had to like either ask someone to do it for me or do that, you know, the weird like bend and snap posture, like where you arch you bend at the hips, but you can't like lower your knees. Does that make sense? I had to go like full, like I had to fold like this. Do not have the requisite flexibility. Chinese sizes were all fat from the US. The thing is, like, the Chinese sizing fits my upper body no problem. No problem. It's just the legs. Ninjash, hello, welcome. Okay. Anyway, I always find it really interesting to try and explain to people just what a huge difference it is. I'm like, I think you're drastically underestimating how thick thighs can get. It's all muscle too. Like there's nothing I can do about it. Oh man. Okay. Let's see. I think I have it set up. That was a lie. That was 100% a lie. Maybe, is it this one? While I was setting this up, the Steam, like Ebihime's Steam page also had, there's a typo I kept making, which was Cafe of Roses instead of Cage of Roses. And then Ebihime literally has a game, I think, starring the same two characters, and it's called Cafe of Roses. Like, I don't know if it was like a spin-off they made just for fun or something, but I looked at it and I was like, that's ridiculous. And I wishlisted it. And with the watermelon I've actually never tried. I don't know if I could. It's like a lot of really bulky muscle mass that doesn't seem to serve any function. Like, I can't lift better than most people. So I don't know. I'm literally so bottom heavy. There's a mechanism that my mom uses for her spine. And it works on like a balancing system where, like, depending on your center of gravity, you like adjust this like fulcrum point. And then you're supposed to very naturally tilt back. It's like a balance of your center of gravity and your height. And for my height, there was literally no setting that would allow it to function for me. Like, my center of gravity was so low that it was not working. It straight up did not work on me. Like that, if I can express the extremity of my imbalance. Vampire romance while I pump the bicep. He's always dallying from the gym. Okay, I've made myself a lavender gin and tonic. In my house, I call it the Ying and tonic because it's made from homegrown lavender. I'm gonna bring the VN music back and we're gonna lock in, guys. I'm actually really excited to be playing more visual novels. I feel like it's been really fun. I'm glad some of you guys have been really enjoying it also. As always, let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet. I'm thinking probably after this we should do the Durandal VN. It's been so long, and if I'm like really on this visual novel grind, I should do it because I've wanted to read it for so long. I bet Ying hip thrusts 3 plates. I've never tried any kind of hip or thigh exercise. Like, I don't know how I would do. Probably not great. It's truly like just visually there and not functional. My muscle is not functional. It's like a weird genetics aberration. Okay. I think music looks good to me. We're gonna go ahead and jump in. Here we go. Love Curse is on my list, Asuna, but I haven't played it yet. Okay. Hopefully we'll figure out everyone's voices pretty quick. Let me pull my mic a little closer. How do you think you pronounce this? It's a Dutch or German name. How do you pronounce it? Meike? Meike? Okay, Henny, what kind of voice should I give you? Faster, Meike, faster! You have to keep moving or else... Oh god, they're gaining on us! Who are we running from? Meike ran through the forest as quickly as her legs would carry her, which, given how exhausted she felt, was not very. She tried to obey Henny's orders, fearful both of letting her friend down and of the shadowy figures who pursued them, but her body refused to listen. Like Mickey? In Cantonese? What does that even mean in Jash? Her legs felt numb and insensible, as unfeeling as marble, but far, far weaker. It was through nothing save sheer force of will that she was able to keep going, for all her strength had already abandoned her. You know, the only other Ebihime VN we've played is It Gets So Lonely Here, and that also starts with a chase scene. Though Meike continued to run, staggering blindly through the fog, she feared it was already a lost cause. She was but a young woman, slender and, while not so very short, quite unaccustomed to exerting herself. She was not like Henny, who spent her days on her hands and knees, polishing the floors and blacking the fireplaces. Meike's fingers were white as ivory, while Henny's were red raw through demanding, often physical labor. Meike's lungs, meanwhile, were straining from the agonizing effort of running. Never before had she known that the act of merely existing could be so exhausting. Meike, please, you need to hurry. Quickly, Meike! Henny reached back to take hold of Meike's hand, her coarse, short fingernails digging into Meike's palm. Henny was gripping so tightly it hurt, but Meike knew, should she lag behind, she would find herself in far greater pain than this. Nova running away with her maid. Kya. Oh, pretty. Meike recalled how her father had looked back in their carriage, his eyes wide and his face unusually pale. Meike had never seen her father look so scared before. He was a tall, imposing figure of a man, dashing even in his early 50s, who was accustomed to issuing orders, not receiving them. Meike thought her father immovable, much like the oak tree which shielded her family's mausoleum, a tree which had stood there for longer than the crypt itself. To Meike, her father had seemed like a force of nature, one which was impossible to argue with or get the better of. This supposition had been turned on its head earlier that night, however, in a mere handful of minutes. Aurora's like, Geezer mentioned. Oh, did someone say father? For all of his bluster, Meike's father was only human. He was made of flesh and blood, just like Meike, and when cut, he bled. He had bled a lot, in fact, all over the plush, upholstered seats of their carriage and onto the floor. His fine clothes had been stained black with the stuff, and the air had stunk of it, sharp and metallic. Meike could smell her father's blood on her even now, as she and Henny raced through the forest. She couldn't forget it, however much she wished to. Oh, if only the events of that night had been nothing more than a bad dream. Meike wished that the fog would clear and she would awake, her eyelids fluttering, to discover herself sitting once more in her bed, in her home, the room flooded with pale sunlight. Meike! But Meike's surroundings did not shift. The trees continued to press in about her as though they meant to eat her alive. Their shadowy pursuers were beginning to close in on them. Meike knew she had no hope of outrunning them. She was flagging, her heart hammering in the base of her throat. What would happen when... Meike was not so optimistic to hope for an if. They caught her. What would they do to Henny? The thought was almost more than Meike could bear. It had been bad enough to lose her parents, but to lose Henny too. Why, she had done nothing wrong. A bloody good day to all. Welcome, Saturn. Unlike Meike, Henny was no lady. She was just a maid. She was only being targeted because of her relationship to Meike and her family. Had Henny been traveling alone, she would have passed through the forest quite unscathed. It wasn't as though Henny had any valuables upon her person that were worth the effort of pilfering. Henny! Meike appealed to her maid between sharp gasps of air, which pierced her lungs as keenly as knitting needles. Please, let go. Leave me be. I'm just slowing you down. I don't care. I'm not leaving you behind. But... There aren't any buts! I told you I won't leave you. Now let's keep running. Meike wanted to run. Really, she did. But her body had already begun to give in. Her heart might have been pumping fit to burst at the base of her throat, but her legs were weak despite the excess blood which filled her, and her hand in Henny's felt cold and clammy. She had exhausted all of her energy simply in escaping from the carriage where her parents' bodies lay. Now she would die, only a few hundred paces away from their final resting place. Would her mutilated carcass be discovered in the days hence and taken back to her family's home? Would she and her parents be embalmed and sealed away within their mausoleum? Meike did not much like this thought. Her family's mausoleum was a terrifying place full of somber stone statues and spiderwebs. It was quiet, being situated among tall trees, but its quietude was not at all relaxing. Its quiet was the deep, fathomless silence of death. Meike did not want to die. She knew not how she would continue to live on, with both her parents slaughtered before her very eyes, but she did not want to succumb as they had in this forest full of fog. She wanted to go on living, for her sake and for Henny's, though not necessarily for Walter's. Who the hell's Walter? God, they're getting closer! We need to keep running! Come on, Meike! But, like the guttering flame of a candle, the last of her energy had been expended. Is this how she becomes a vampire? This is how she dies and put in the mausoleum and then comes back. Meike's foot caught in a tangled tree root, which jutted from the ground like a bear trap, and she fell. Yeah, fuck Walter. Who's Walter? Doesn't matter. Her hand, which was slick with sweat, slipped free from Henny's. She reached out, searching for her loyal maid through the fog, but to no avail. Meike! Henny's voice echoed in Meike's ears, shrill and frantic. Meike's heart juddered in her chest. That's never heard of this word. Juddered? Just like a shuddering? Past tense and past participle of the verb judder, which means to like jitter. Merriam-Webster says it's primarily used in... Huh? Ooh, the heartbeat sound is really... That's a lot. Okay. Juddered in her chest, hard, as though meaning to stop altogether, but it did little good. Leaving that message contextless might be unfortunate during these events, so to be clear, I'm talking about your pronunciation of Meike. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Her head smacked against the ground with a dull, anticlimactic thud. Meike's teeth bit against her tongue. She tasted copper. Her vision swam. Meike, oh God, Meike, get up, please get up. And then everything went black. Act 1, the night that never ended. I like the sound design so far. Very immersive. What? Meike was greeted upon waking by a dull, crushing pain that gripped her skull like a vice. A brackish taste akin to pond water filled her mouth, and with one hand clasped to her head, she coughed. Meike's body shuddered and her lungs burned. It took a minute before her coughing fit subsided, but once it did, Meike began to glance uneasily around her surroundings. Lady Macbeth, welcome! She hoped that her immediate surroundings might shed some light upon her predicament, but her hopes were in vain. Meike had no idea where she was. The floor upon which she was sitting, but why was she sitting on the floor of all things, was made of stone, which felt hard and cold and uncompromising. The walls, too, were made of stone, as was the ceiling, which felt very far away. A wooden cot was pushed up close against one of the walls, but it was so steeped in shadows Meike could scarcely make it out. There was a chamber pot lying by the cot, which she did not dare to examine too closely, but its rim and sides were stained with caked-on filth. A truly unpleasant odor exuded from the chamber pot, which made Meike's eyes sting. It was fortunate that she had no immediate desire to relieve herself, for she had no wish to use this commode. A quick examination of the room, though really it was more like a cell, showed Meike that save for the cot and the chamber pot, it was utterly desolate. There was no other furniture to be seen, no shelves, nor cupboards, nor even a proper bed. There was no mirror either, so Meike could not see herself, but perhaps this was a blessing in disguise. Meike doubted she would be at her best, given she was in so much pain and she was so very exhausted. She was so cold she could feel the goosebumps rippling across her flesh, and her teeth were chattering badly. Meike is it just me or is her outfit different than earlier when she was... Meike wound her arms about her middle and shivered sadly. It was not only the chamber pot that stunk. The very air itself was rank, heavy with the stench of unwashed bodies and general decay. This room, no, she was sure that this was a cell, reeked of death. Oh, Shin, thank you. I'm gonna dehydrate instead. It's keeping me unsweaty. No, I think her dress is different too. Yeah. Like someone changed her clothes for her? How had she come to such a place? What had happened to her? Meike could remember sitting alongside her mother and father in their carriage as it bore them through the forest, and then there, at this most pivotal of moments, her memories failed her. Meike could recall nothing else. Had her parents been there, they would have given her instructions. They always seem to know what Meike ought to be doing at any given time. That's kind of passive-aggressive. But they were not there, and neither was Henny. Meike was all alone. Henny had been with her, Meike was certain, before... Before what? Why could she not remember anything? Oh, Meike thought sorrowfully, if only she was made of stone, then perhaps her head would not hurt so much. It really did feel like her skull might explode. Not from the pain, though the pain still remained, but from raw, unbridled fear. Meike had often dreamed of stealing away from her parents' home to embark upon a brand new life, unfettered by expectations, but she had never wished for this. Tears began to trickle down Meike's cheeks in crystalline droplets. They scored tracks in the dirt, which caked her cheeks and dropped, one by one, to the floor. Her head bowed, fingers splayed against the stones. Meike sobbed and she sobbed until... What? What's going on? A soft voice spoke from amongst the teeming shadows. Meike could not see the speaker. She could scarcely see at all given the darkness and now her own tears, but she recognized its familiar cadences. The voice belonged to Henny. Meike's dear friend was here too, in this stone cell which smelt of death, and though Meike feared for Henny, she could feel relief bubbling up inside her. She was not alone after all. Henny? Meike crawled forth on her hands and knees, being too exhausted to stand, and stared into the shadows. Henny, is that you? Meike? A shaft of moonlight spilled through the singular barred window hewn high into the wall of their cell, and finally Meike was afforded a view of her maid. Though christened Henrica? Unclear. Meike had always called her beloved maid Henny. It seemed a more appropriate name for so cheery a woman, for Henny, come rain or shine, was rarely seen without a smile. Henny was not smiling now, however. She was sitting upon the wooden cot which Meike had first spied, her head bent. Henny's face looked woefully weary, and it... What? Oh. Let me mute my phone. And it had lost much of its usual pinkness. Her apron, once white, now stained and sullied with dirt. Henny's shoes had been black and sensible, but now they were mired in filth, and her socks were rucked up about her ankles. Your pronunciation of Henrico was pretty good as well. Oh, really? Okay, thank you, Fla. Henny's hands, which she held at her front, were trembling like those of a woman thrice her age. She's so cute. Like, every time I look at her eyes, I'm like, ooh. Ooh. She looked an awful sight, but Meike knew she could hardly have been any better herself. Henny's hair might have bine a mess, but at least she kept it short. There was not so very much of Henny's dark tresses to be worked into a state of disorder. Love a sensible shoe, always. Meike's own hair, meanwhile, was very long and curly, and though she had worn it in a chignon, I think, she could now feel it straggling loosely about her shoulders. The back of her neck prickled, either from the cold or from a dislodged hairpin or two. Perhaps that was why Henny stared at Meike so, once she had regained her own sense of equilibrium, as though she had seen a ghost. My God! Meike! Henny looked so alarmed, Meike felt almost ashamed. Meike was no stranger to shame. She felt it frequently, in fact, when she was with her mother. There's a lot of, side jabs at her parents, but it rarely raised its ugly head in Henny's presence. Since Meike's girlhood, Henny had been her one staunch, steadfast champion. She was the only person Meike knew who took Meike for who she was, rather than wishing, often aloud to her face, that she could be more appreciative, more amenable, more effusive, more like a lady and less like herself. Henny didn't want Meike to be more. She only wanted Meike to be Meike. Did that mean, then, that Meike did not look like Meike in that moment? But who else did she resemble if not herself? What had happened to her? Are you all right, Meike? Oh, look at your poor face. Henny rose from the wooden cot, which creaked and crouched before her friend. Reaching out, still shaking, she cupped Meike's cheeks in her fingers and said, "You're bleeding." "I am?" "Yes, you've a nasty cut beneath your right eye, and your cheek—" Henny sucked in a breath, her expression grim. "It's all banged up. You're positively black and blue." "Oh, I, hadn't realized. I'm sorry, Henny." "What?" Henny, who had procured a handkerchief from her skirt pocket, it fortunately wasn't dirty, paused in her dabbing at Meike's face to look at her with amusement. "Why are you apologizing to me, you daft goose? You've done nothing to feel sorry for." Oh, do you think she would speak with what's that British accent called? Yorkshire? Is that what I'm thinking of? I don't know. I'm just sorry for making you worry, I suppose. Oh, think now. Yeah. There's what accent is this? Think now. What is that? Of it. It's my job to worry about you. I'm your maid, remember? Something like that. I don't think I can keep that up, so we will not be doing that. Well, of course I remember that much. My thoughts might be in a state of disarray for the present, but I would never forget you. You are much more than my maid, Henny. You're my friend, too. My dearest friend. Lobogan, welcome. And I could very well say the same about you. That's why it hurts seeing you in such a frightful state. Do I look so very bad? Well, now. Henny scanned Meike's face, her brown eyes now bright with mischief. That depends on how honest you want me to be. Oh, dear. Do I look as bad as all that? You've certainly looked better. Your face is as banged up as a windfall apple. An apple? Meike shook her head in wonderment. I only hope that the apple isn't riddled with worms. I don't think you've anything to worry about on that score, at least. Well, that is a relief. I suppose things could always be worse. Right you are. That's the spirit. You're still alive, and so am I, and we're together. That ought to count for something, although... Henny finished wiping the worst of the congealed blood and muck from Meike's cheek, then drew back, her soiled kerchief gripped tight in her hand. Her expression newly dour, she said after a moment's pause, I am afraid that your parents mightn't have been so fortunate. What? Meike's heart leapt in her chest. Oops. Back? Oh, yeah, there's no history button, I think. So it's just back. Meike's heart leapt in her chest at this somber announcement. Make her a maid from Manchester in honor of Rita? I don't even know how to do a Manchester accent. Like, what does that even sound like? What happened to them, Henny? Do you know what's going on? You don't? I recall that we were traveling to Augsburg to visit my fiancé, but as for how we came here... Meike closed her eyes in the hopes of remembering something, but again, nothing came. Her mind remained stubbornly blank, as featureless as a snowy field, all flora blanketed in untrammeled whiteness. I'm afraid I cannot remember. Not a single thing? Nothing. I see. Henny grit her teeth together for a few moments, her eyes dark. She seemed to be weighing up her words as a baker might measure out flour and sugar before speaking. That's not such a surprise, I suppose. You hit your head pretty hard back there. It might be for the best that you can't remember all of the gory details. I wish I could forget what happened myself, but... Henny's voice trailed away as awkwardly she gripped her kerchief. That kerchief had been the only clean thing in Meike and Henny's cell, but now it too was ruined, streaked with brown and red. How deep was the cut that Meike had sustained, and how much had she bled? This, too, remained a mystery. It's your favorite accent, Saturn. We should look it up. Meike did not know. There seemed much, all of a sudden, she was ignorant of. She felt so very unworldly, she might as well have been a little girl again, enthused after she had successfully stolen the key to her family's mausoleum. What the? What are you doing sneaking into the mausoleum? Jesus. You know what? Can't blame her. I probably would have done the same thing. Meike had not known, as she stood in the chill entrance of the mausoleum, that she was about to lower herself into a subterranean world of death and decay, though part of her had wondered. Let's go, Sapphics! Welcome, Liz! Henny. Meike took Henny's hand in her own, her cracked fingernails digging into her skin. What happened? Tell me, please. I want to know. Yes, I thought you might. That does make things a mite complicated, though. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Just promise me you won't take against me for what I'm about to tell you. I've gone through a lot tonight already, and that would be the straw to break the camel's back. Henny, please. You should know that is a trivial concern. I'm fully aware that none of this is your fault. You've only ever sought to protect me. I have no better friend than you. Not in all the world. And it's precisely because I want to protect you that I don't want to go into all this. I know it'll upset you. Christ. It upsets me too. It's an upsetting situation all around. It's rotten, really, what people are capable of, but... Henny paused. She sucked in a breath, then in a calmer tone she said, Just how much do you want to know? How much is there to know? Oh, I remember everything. I'll always remember tonight, I expect. It made quite the impression. Horrible things always do. Oh dear. Are things truly that dire? They're pretty bad, yes. Give me an abridged account, then. I've no need to hear everything. Right you are. Henny bowed her head in acquiescence, her face half swallowed by the shadows. The beam of light which had penetrated the drab cell had long since been extinguished, the moon obscured beneath the rolling fog. It was so cold in their cell, Meike could not cease her shivers. Even her teeth felt cold, like shards of ice implanted into her gums. Henny's proximity served as something of a comfort, but it would not rid Meike, what am I even saying, of her trepidation. She knew once Henny relayed the past events to her, her life would no longer be the same. Everything would change. It was changing already, in fact, so quickly that Meike hardly had a chance to gather her bearings. She felt lost, adrift, and hopelessly afraid. I'm sorry to tell you this, Meike, but during our travels, the carriage, it was attacked by bandits. What? No. Yes, they came creeping out from the fog like, I don't know, monsters from a children's story maybe, but much scarier. They waylaid the carriage, then stormed it. They drew out their daggers and threatened your father, and when he refused to comply, well... Henny's expression twisted. They stabbed him. What? Meike stared. She had expected as much before Henny began her gruesome tale, but the news still shook her. Evidently, she had not been half so prepared to hear the worst as she had imagined. Oh, God. Not my... I'm just going to keep going the papa route because it feels nice and pretentious. Not my papa. My poor papa. Don't tell me he didn't... I'm sorry, but... Henny sniffed. Not the papa. I've been watching Fantasy High Dimension 20, and like every time what's his fucking name? Like, Lou's character. I forgot the character name. Lou's character goes, Papa! So tickled. It's as you're probably suspecting. His wound was a deep one, and he died. Dead? My papa dead? Dead as a doornail, I'm afraid. I didn't hang around to see what happened, but, well, it was all over so quickly I don't think he suffered, at least. Papa is dead? And my mama, what of her? Don't tell me she also... Henny didn't reply, but the discomfort which crossed her face left Meike with no doubts as to her mother's fate. In one brief night, both of Meike's parents had been slaughtered. What about Mama? Liz is having fun. Now she was an orphan. And what of us, Henny? How did we escape? I find it hard to believe... Sorry. I find it hard to believe the bandits would just let us go. Do you look like you're being let go right now, lady? Oh, I'm sure we would have joined your parents if we'd sat still like good little girls, but I didn't want to do that. I took your hand while they were busy with your mother and we ran away. We fled through the woods, but the bandits took chase pretty darn quick. I know the scene is so tragic, but this is like losing their shit. It is sad. It is morose. It was very dark, and the fog was thick, and I could hardly see what was happening. At one point, you tripped and you fell. That's how you got that nasty cut on your poor forehead, and I was dragged down with you. We lay there on the ground in the dirt while the bandits tramped about looking for us. I figured we were both a couple of goners. I'd started to say my prayers to the Lord Almighty, but then... we survived. Yes, we survived. This, Meike supposed, was not such a surprise. It went without saying, really, that they had survived. Otherwise, they would not have been sitting in this ghastly cell speaking to one another. Either the bandits had spared them, which seemed unlikely, or somebody had come to their defense. Who would have been wandering the woods so late at night, however? Meike could hardly credit it. Their escape must have been the stuff that fantasies were made of. Do you know how we escaped, Henny? I know what my eyes saw, but if my eyes can be trusted or not, well, that's another matter altogether. I think I might have bumped my head myself. It was all so peculiar. At the time, it seemed like a miracle, but looking back on it, that ain't the right word. Miracles suggest God and all his angels, but there was not I need to... I don't know how the accent works wholly about this. It was a right proper mess, really. A total bloodbath. But blood? Yes, there was blood, and lots of it. It's hard for me to explain, but all I know is one moment we were sprawled upon the dirt, you unconscious, I half out of my mind with fright as the bandits approached, and the next, they were gone. Gone? But where and how? Did they run away? Not necessarily. Not of their own free will. Liz, you're so right. The fog parted, you see, and then this figure, this woman, she appeared so quick it was like she'd sprung up from the earth. She wasn't very tall, I don't think she was, at least. And she was very skinny, but the way she looked, the way she moved, there was something unnatural about her. Here comes the vampire. I didn't get a very good look at what happened next, but I saw her go after those bandits. I think there were at least 4 of them, and that woman soon took care of them. There was so much blood and a lot of mud. It stunk to high heaven, it did. Brought tears to my eyes. That woman, though, the woman in white, she didn't seem fussed at all. She stood there once she had finished, beneath the moon like nothing had happened, and then... Henny pressed her fingers to her brow and, overwhelmed, shook her head. I don't remember anything after that. I think I must have fainted. When I finally woke up, I found myself here. It was your crying that woke me up. I've never been able to rest easy while you're in tears, Meike. Yes, I know. You've always been so good and so kind. Thank you, Henny. Meike chanced to smile, though the muscles about her mouth felt atrophied, worn away following the news of her parents' demise. I've no idea what I would do without you. It sounds like you saved me. From the bandits, I suppose I did. But I wasn't much use when you took that nasty spill. There's no way I would have been able to carry you to safety. Not when we were all turned about in the woods and I'd no idea where we were. I think I scraped my own shin, too. My ankle aches. We'd been goners if that woman hadn't appeared. But now that I'm talking about it, it doesn't sound real. I can't think of any woman who would be able to beat 4 men in a test of strength. Not even your own Mademoiselle Blanchard. Meike's smile widened at this, despite the severity of their situation, and she was even able to manage a laugh. It was a weak laugh, which contained little in the way of mirth, but it was sincere. And he never failed to cheer her up. She must have had a knack for it. Meike was too old to believe in magic, but when she was with Henny, she sometimes wondered. Mademoiselle Blanchard catching strays. But they're like strays of praise, right? Are you sure it was a woman who fended off those bandits? Perhaps it was some sort of animal instead, and you failed to perceive it in the fog. That could be it. Like I said, my mind's a mess. I feel I've lost a good 10 years off my life, although... Here, Henny smiled grimly, in the manner of all survivors after witnessing something horrid. That's better than having it cut short altogether. We must be thankful for small mercies, yes, even if our lives were saved at my parents' expense. Meike squeezed her eyes shut. She could feel tears beating upon her eyelashes anew, but this time she was able to subdue them. News of her parents' death was a heavy burden to bear, but Meike, not having witnessed their final moments, found it hard to imagine. It still did not seem quite real. The shock of it all perhaps had blunted her senses. It would take a while for her parents' passing to truly register. When it did, however, Meike did not doubt the tears would come, thicker and faster than before. The reply is not that it could have been a man, but an animal. More likely. It had not always been so, but her childhood misadventures in her family's crypt had left her something of a crybaby. What childhood did you get stuck there? Like, what? Now then, Meike inhaled, then glanced about. Where do you suppose we are, and how do you suppose we got here? That's a good question. I've been wondering that myself. It's not the nicest of digs, is it? Not particularly, no. It's awfully drab, and it's damp, too. I'm freezing. You poor thing, you. Come here. And he shifted closer to Meike and drew her arms about her. Holding her close, she then glanced about. Both maid and mistress squinted into the shadows, as though they might unearth some secret way of escaping. A trapdoor, perhaps, or a hidden passageway. But, to Meike's disappointment, she found the cell quite unchanged. It was every bit as sparse as she recalled. The shadows did little to mask this fact, and still it stank. Goodness me. It's not much to look at, is it? We might as well be in a prison cell. I think that might be what this is. Henny drew back from Meike, her legs crossed beneath her apron on the stone floor, and frowned. I reckon you're right. I wonder who brought us here. You and me both. It was nice of our mysterious benefactor or benefactress to rescue us, though they can't be all that kind if they're going to let us suffer in here. Oops. You'd think they could at least have put us up in a nicer room. I'm not expecting first-class accommodations, but you deserve better than this, Meike. This place isn't fit for rats, let alone people. It's all right. Are you being serious? Henny raised an eyebrow while Meike smiled. It's better than being dead, at least, even if these lodgings are a mite uncomfortable. Only a mite? Well, quite a bit, if I'm being honest. Meike drew her arms about her legs, her knees beneath her chin, and said, When I woke up, I was lying on the floor. On the floor? Henny's eyebrows shot up her forehead until they met her hairline. The gesture was so exaggerated it managed to bring another smile to Meike's lips, despite how very dire their situation was. I suppose it makes sense, there being only one bed, and there was only one bed. There being only one bed, but oh, that is too much. I can't believe they'd fling you about like a sack of spuds. Many unbelievable things have happened tonight. Our benefactor must have been bucking the trend. On the floor? Some benefactor. When I get my hands on them, I'll give them what for? Don't, Henny. It wouldn't do to pick a fight with whomever brought us here. I wouldn't want to anger them. Not when we're at their mercy. I know, Henny's so cute, right? Why, but that makes us sound like captives. Is that not what we are? This is a cell, after all, and we have no means of escaping. We're being treated like prisoners. I know, but it still stings. I don't care about me, but I don't want to see you being treated like a convict. Not when you've been through so much. You've been through worse. At least, I don't remember what happened, unlike you. And you're the one who will be saddled with the consequences, poor Meike. It was your parents, not mine, who were, well, I don't expect there's much choice in trying to suss out who's suffering more than who. As it stands, we're both in this together. I won't abandon you, Meike, so try not to worry. Keep your chin up. We'll get through this. Thank you, Henny. I almost believe it, coming from you. You should! I don't say things I don't mean, you know? Now, let's see. Maybe things aren't as dire as they look. There could be a way to escape yet. Henny rose to her feet, though unsteadily, and did a circuit of the cell. The shadows made it seem larger than it was, for they obscured the walls, but it did not take Henny many steps to canvass the full length of the dingy room. She pressed her fingertips to the walls, then her ear, as though the stonework might whisper their weaknesses to her. But the walls, of course, remained mute. Henny then took the bars between her fingers and squeezed experimentally, but they refused to yield. Oh, come on! Frustrated, Henny gave the bars a kick. The tip of her shoe collided with them, loosing clods of dirt from her soles, but damn it all! The bars refused to budge. They were quite impenetrable. Sighing, Henny changed tack. She moved from the door to glance up the window, but this was similarly barred, too high up to reach and much too small to squeeze through. It almost seemed like a miracle that such a small window allowed any moonlight at all to spill into the cell when the clouds and the fog shifted. And Meike asked when a disenchanted Henny flopped back down beside her with a rustle of her skirts. Did you uncover anything? Not all, except that we're more trapped than I thought. What? I want to know what dialect this is. I thought you might have come to that conclusion, yes. God. Henny kicked off her right shoe, then began to massage her feet, which had begun to throb. This is a rum situation. I wonder what we're to do. I don't think there's much we can do other than wait. I suppose you're right. Can't say I like the thought of that, though. We're sitting ducks here. I feel we ought to be taking some kind of action. Henny looked about the cell once more, then sighed. But I'm drawing a blank here. I can't think of anything we could do. I know, I think the optimism is respectable. I'm sorry for being so hopeless, Meike. I meant to look after you, but I'm at a total loss. Don't apologize, dear Henny. I feel better simply being with you. That's something, at least. I wish I could be of some real use, though. You are of real use. Without you, I'd be an unconscionable mess weeping on the floor. Well, we can't be having that. It breaks my heart to see you cry. Much as it breaks mine to see you self-flagellate, over something that is not your fault. Touché. Now that we're well and truly stuck here, I suppose we ought to make the best of it, although I have a bad feeling about this place. Gives me the creeps. I don't know who imprisoned us here, or what cause, but they've no manners to speak of. Why, it's almost as if... Henny began, but she found herself unable to finish this sentence. A sound issued forth from darkness, emitting from beyond their tightly sealed cell. It was a faint sound, but Henny still heard it, hovering in the sour and musty air. Sapporo just twitched in her sleep. It was so cute. It sounded like a scream. Good God! What in the world was that? I suppose that was just the wind. Do you really think so? Yes, I imagine. Meike answered in the affirmative, though deep down both she and Henny knew the truth. That had not been the wind. It had been too raw, too pained, and, though faint, unmistakably human. They have no manners. You are in a cell, dearie. Exactly. I think it's a very John T character for sure. With no obvious way of escape and very little to do, Meike and Henny had no choice but to idle their time away. Lucy, welcome. They sat upon the floor together with their legs folded primly, like two little girls conducting a make-believe tea party. Henny had, at first, balked at the thought of her mistress sitting on the stone like a plebeian, but Meike's dress was already so dirty, it didn't matter. The two women did not, however, abandon themselves to inertia. Henny knew they had to do something to take their minds off their ghastly predicament. Fortunately, Henny was not empty-handed. She had in her pocket, alongside the kerchief she had used to wipe Meike's cheek, a pack of cards. These cards were worn and bent at the corners, but they remained perfectly functional. For want of a better way to use their time, Henny proposed to Meike a game of Joker, a game which Meike agreed to. The two women played several rounds of Joker. What is Joker? Examining their decks and dispensing of cards. The game did not require a great degree of tactical thinking, but it helped alleviate some of Meike's worries. It could not, alas, alleviate the cold, but Meike had been shivering for so long she'd almost grown accustomed to it. She had been in the dank, miserable cell for so long she could scarcely remember how it even felt to be warm. Had her journey to Augsburg continued unimpeded, she would now be sitting by the fire in Walter... Oh, here come Walter again. Good stretch, Sapporo. Good stretch. Oh, a little rotation. Head on the other side. Okay, all right. Maybe if she uses this bed more, maybe I can set up a cat cam. In Walter Gerhardt's living room, or else tucked up in one of his many guest bedrooms with a warming pan at her feet. They play in Balatro. Both Augsburg and Walter Gerhardt seemed very far away to Meike now, though being confined thus in a prison cell. How long had she been sitting with Henny on the floor, shivering? Meike did not know. She could not tell. I know Sapporo giving a show and you can't see any of it. I'm sorry. I can only narrate it for you. All Meike really knew, in her infinite ignorance, was that the night seemed hopelessly long. She hopelessly small and insignificant. There was no clock in Meike's cell, and neither she nor Henny carried timepieces upon them. The only means Meike had of tracking the advancement of the hour was the sliver of sky she could see beyond the narrow window, situated high above her head. She could recall that the sky had been dark upon her waking, and it remained so now, 3 games of Joker later. The moon, which emerged from the fog at irregular intervals, shone its pallid light upon Meike's head and upon her hand of cards, lighting her Joker in his wide, rictus grin. Meike had never much cared for the Joker and Henny's trusty pack of cards. His expression unnerved her. Every once in a while, as she played, Meike spared a few glances at the barred window above her head. Though she could not guess the hour, she knew it was late. It could have been an advanced hour of the night, or could have been, by the same token, the very, very early hours of the following morning. The calendar might have shifted already from one day to the next, but Meike was none the wiser. You psst, and your cat came. Your cat came. The sky was so dark, Meike found it hard to believe the sun would ever rise again. The darkness which abounded within her cell was so complete, it seemed to have blotted out the very concept of the morning altogether. She feared she would never again see the sun's golden rays, never again hear the twittering of the starlings in the trees which announced a brand new day. He's a good dog. Why, hello, welcome. When did the birds begin to chirp beyond her bedroom window anyway? Meike could not recall, but she thought it must have been around 6 in the morning. Meike had gone to bed at 10 every night, like a dutiful daughter ought, but she had often found it hard to sleep for a full, unbroken 8 hours. She would arise at odd hours, at 1 or 2 or 3, her head full of thoughts, and often she found it hard to sleep again. When this occurred, Meike would rise from bed to sit by her windowsill, her forehead in the summer pressed to the glass. That always helped cool her, and her errant thoughts alongside it. Oh, how her mind raced. This is ridiculous! Henny groused, all while examining her cards. We ought to be at Herr Gerhardt's right now, safe as houses. We weren't so very far from Augsburg. At least I don't think we were when we were attacked. Why did those bandits have to go after us? We were just unfortunate, I suppose. I can't imagine the bandits meant specifically to target us. We just happened to be there. You're probably right, but goodness. Of all the awful luck. At least you've had a fair run during our game. You've beaten me out soundly during every single hand. Yeah, Liz, I'm pretty sure this is like Germanic. Yeah. Ha! Like, Henny's full name is Henrika? Something like that. Ha! Well, true. I suppose I should thank heaven for small mercies, eh? Henny smiled at Meike's attempt to cheer her, but it didn't last. Both Henny's smile and Meike's cheer were half-hearted, and they were soon swallowed by the sinister darkness of their cell. Augsburg is in the south of Germany, near Munchen. Oh! It's a shame I don't feel more thankful. I wonder what Herr Gerhardt would make of this. He'd be off his head, I'm sure, if he knew the state you're being kept in, Meike. I'm enraged, too, for you and him. Oh, near Munich. Oh. That does help. Thank you, Aurora. You deserve far better than this. You're a von Essen, for crying out loud. Herr is German for Mr. It is pronounced like hair. Okay, thank you. Das Imperator Chen. That's a really fun username. The person who's holding us here will feel mighty sorry when they realize who you are. You're a real lady. Maybe. Meike's reply was vague in both tone and meaning. We're in Bavaria. Not even Meike herself was sure whether she meant to disparage Henny's optimistic assertions that her being a lady would grant her any favor with her captor, or whether she meant to challenge the notion she was a lady at all. Meike had been born to a noble family, it was true, with a lineage which could be traced back centuries, but the von Essens were not what they had been. Half a century of poor financial decisions and a grandfather with a compulsive gambling addiction had led to the squandering of much of the von Essens' wealth. While still in possession of their family home and a veritable fleet of maidservants, the family's finances had been in a dire state ever since Meike could remember. Though not openly wanting for cash, Micah's parents had made a good many purchases based on their family's prestige rather than the figures in their bank account. Ah, that's why we don't like, what's his name? I forgot his first name. Micah's wedding to Herr Gerhardt had been an attempt to shore up the family's wealth before they could fall from grace altogether, but that now seemed an impossibility. How could Micah wed Walter? Walter was his name. Fuck Walter. When she was incarcerated. Yeah, Aurora actually remembered. If Micah had loved Walter, she surely would have shed tears over so cruel a fate. As it was, however, she was curiously calm. What did she care how Walter Gerhardt felt? She barely knew him. Well, not to worry. Herr Gerhardt must be sitting in his drawing room now, wondering where the blazes we are. Herr Gerhardt is sure to send out a search party before long. He'll be worried sick about you, Micah. Do you really think so? Absolutely! I mean, he is your fiancé. He's got to be worried. You're such a sweet thing, I don't see how he couldn't. Thank you, Henny. I appreciate it. Don't thank me, Micah. I'm just stating the facts. If I was a man and I had a fiancé like you could bet that I wouldn't let you out of my sight. Perhaps it's a good thing that I'm here with you then. You, at least, know I'm all right. Yes, you are, and I thank heaven on high for it. You know I'd do anything to keep you safe, Micah. I know. Micah could well believe that, coming from Henny. When it came to Henny's claims about Walter, however, Micah was less certain. Yeah, fuck Walter. Ooh. Walter might be hot, guys. Walter might be hot. We might have to take it back. we might have to take our misandry back for a hot minute. That looks like it's probably some kind of Bishonen ass. Motherfucker. Alright. Oh no, he's hot. Yeah. Okay, here's the headcanon, right? Like, she's gay and so is he. They're beards for each other. I feel like being beards for each other would be a really fun way to live like a nobility type life, you know? What did she know about Walter, really, other than his age and his occupation and how fabulously, excessively wealthy he was? While slapping at me for the instant fold. Micah had met Walter on only 3 past occasions, and they'd exchanged almost as many words. The man was a stranger to her, and Micah's desire to marry him was inversely proportional with her parents' desire to see her walking down the aisle. Micah had been dreading her visit to Augsburg for well over a month. Now it had been terminated, she felt a perverse sort of relief. Part of Micah had even begun to wonder whether the bandits' attack had brought with it some good, alongside all the bad. I mean, your parents died, dude. But that, Micah chastised herself, was hopelessly cruel. Were her parents' lives truly worth that little to her? It was true enough that she may never see Walter Gerhardt again, but she would never see her mother nor her father again, either. It was not a fair trade, not by any stretch of the imagination. Walter is non-binary, I decided. I like this headcanon, Liz. How could she ever have thought of such a thing? I don't know, sometimes you're just looking for silver linings wherever you can get them, you know? Like, my parents are dead, but at least I don't have to go to my, like, weird-ass, mid-ass fiancé. She really must have been wicked. Was that why she had found herself in such a dire situation? Perhaps this was God's way of punishing her for being a poor daughter, and a sinner who spent too much of her time lost in daydreams, imagining things which could never and would never be. Respect the he-they. Oh, Taku, thank you for the hydrate redeem. Cheers. Micah and Henny sat in their cell for what could have been minutes or hours or even days, whiling away the time. By God, there was so much time, with continued, unending, incessant games of Joker. Life is hard enough to not look at the bright side. Exactly, Sil. Well said. Micah's heart was not in the game, her head being otherwise occupied, and Henny trounced her soundly, 12-1. Henny was better than Micah at card games in general, so this came as little surprise. Micah was accustomed to losing and accepted her failures with good grace. There were more important things in life than card games, and in any event, Micah was glad to be rid of the eerily grinning jokers in her deck. Little of note happened during these dead, empty hours. Micah had begun to wonder in a detached way, as Henny launched into their 14th round of Joker, whether they would ever meet their rescuer. Perhaps whoever had hauled them from the forest had done so, not as an act of kindness, but as a mean of prolonging their suffering. Maybe they meant to keep them locked in the cell, alone, until time itself slowed to a trickle, then ceased, the squalid stone walls tumbling down about them to crush their emaciated corpses in the debris. Really putting emphasis on the cage in Cage of Roses. Just like how Cafe of Roses seems very much to be in a cafe. But soon, shockingly soon, or so it seemed, despite all of the interminable waiting, Meike found her hypothesis proved wrong. She could hear, above the sound of Henny shuffling the deck, a sound. Footsteps. A loop or a very long PNG. It might be multiple PNGs, like parallaxed. The footsteps were quiet enough at first that Meike wondered whether she had imagined them, but as the sounds elapsed, they became louder still, until even Henny heard them. Goodness me! Henny fumbled with the cards, then threw them down, red hearts and black spades spilt across the stone. Can you hear that, Meike? Yes, I can. Someone must be coming. Our rescuer from the woods, do you think? They could be our rescuer, yes, but maybe... Meike chose not to finish this thought. Her saliva felt too thick in her throat, like tar, and she shivered. She didn't want to extinguish the hope, which she could see flickering now in Henny's eyes. That would have been cruel. Henny's head swiveled to the grated iron door. Excitable as a puppy and wide-eyed, she peered through the shadows. This is a turn for the better. I was beginning to worry they'd forgotten all about us. I can't wait to come face to face with them. I'll be sure to tell them exactly what I think about their so-called hospitality. Hospitality, Henny? I don't know if that's what I would call this. You've said that once before, Henny, and I wish you wouldn't. I don't want to anger them. I know, protect her at all costs, for real. If she dies, I'm gonna be so sad. Oh, stuff and nonsense. I'm sure it'll be fine. If they wanted to harm us, they had plenty of chances to do it already, surely. That is true, but... The footsteps drew closer still, echoing about the stone walls, echoing inside Meike's skull. The footsteps could represent only two things. They would mean salvation, if they were lucky, but Meike found it difficult to believe this. Neither she nor Henny had been very lucky that night, despite Henny's continued winning hands in Joker. It seemed far more likely that these footsteps would bring about yet more suffering, and sure enough... I'll just choose a voice and go, and then we'll adjust. Well, well, would you look what the cat dragged in? The voice that cut through Meike's musings was a proud, haughty one, the syllables polished to perfection like cut glass. The voice belonged, quite obviously, to a woman, and given her pronunciation, she must have been well-bred. Perhaps their rescuer was a lady, then, a Von such-and-such, like Meike, from a family whose ancestral home was vast and old and grand enough to have its very own dungeon. And he has to stop setting flags. Whereas most nobility used their subterranean storage spaces for wine cellars, this family seemed to prefer taking prisoners. The thought did not fill Meike with much confidence about her mysterious rescuer. Anxiously, she glanced up to meet the source of said voice, and when she did... Oh, she's hot! Meike could not help but gasp in surprise. I was right. Lowen, thank you for the raid. Welcome. It's nice to meet you. I don't think we've met before. Let me do a shout out for you real quick. Lowen, am I saying that right? Oh, Outer Wilds. That's very much on my list. Very much on my list. I hope you had a great Outer Wilds stream. Incoming raid delivery. Incoming raid delivery. Good to have y'all. Hope you had a good stream. Thank you for raiding in. Happy Pride. We're playing a Yuri vampire visual novel today. I was here when you streamed Edith Finch. Oh, yes. Okay, good to see you again then. Wow, that was a while ago, huh? Thanks for remembering that. I hope you had fun. Hope you had fun on your stream, more importantly. Oh, if you need to go rest, please do. I know very well that post-story heavy stream can sometimes be much more exhausting than the average. Saw your title and I was intrigued. Yeah, well, you've come just in time. We just started. Like, I can very easily summarize everything that's happened so far. You guys ready? Oh, Sleepy Troll, thank you for the hydrate. Cheers. So far, opens on a chase scene through the woods. Our parents were like a rich daughter Von Essen, I think her name is something Von Essen. Meike Von Essen. We're like in a carriage with our parents in the woods on our way to meet our fiance. Who's like some rich God knows what. Married for money, basically. And then bandits kill her parents, and she and her maid, Henny, run off into the woods. And then, like, their bandits come after them, and instead of getting killed by the bandits, this, like, mysterious figure in the fog kills all 4 bandits. And we're currently... And then they've been trapped in a jail cell ever since then. And this is their captor and probably also their savior coming to meet them. And given the splash art of this game, I'm pretty sure these 2 are the lesbians of the game. Oh yes, another stretch. Yeah, thank you. It's an Ebihime game. Yes, this is an Ebihime game. It's Ebihime and it's also 2.5 studios. So if you are a Date with Death enjoyer or an Ebihime enjoyer, this is probably right up your alley, which is why I'm here as an enjoyer of both developers. Yeah, Ebihime and 2.5 studios. YY's like, oh no, she is hot. All right, thank you again for the raid, Luan. Feel free to stick around if you want. If you need to go rest, please do also. I'm gonna continue now. The owner of the voice, who now stood upon the opposite side of the cell's door, was not at all what Meike had imagined. In-depth single romance route game. Are there multiple options? I think it's in-depth single romance route, but I'm not too sure, to be honest. Based on the screenshots I've seen, I think it is just the one route. Yeah. It's also a pretty short game. It's estimated like 4 hours, I think. I guess on stream it'll probably take me closer to like 6. Yeah, because I'm reading everything out loud. She was shorter than Meike had expected. Shorter than Meike herself, who was dwarfed by her wealthier, significantly older fiancé, and slender with it, her cheekbones high, her neck not dissimilar to the stem of a flower. Yeah, Ebihime is usually single pairings. Well, the only Ebihime game I've played before this was It Gets So Lonely Here, and that one had multiple routes, so... I will be leaving to make some dinner. I'll be lurking here and there. Of course, Luan, thank you again for the raid. Have a good evening. Enjoy your dinner. Oh, Cadentia, exactly. It Gets So Lonely Here is, like, I think one of their most popular titles. Yeah. Her skin was frighteningly pale, like that of a corpse, and beneath her eyes, Meike could see dark rings similar to those she often sported during the long nights at her bedroom window, unable to sleep. The woman, or was she a girl, had hair so fair it was almost white, which almost seemed to glow in the moon's light. Her hair was not worn in a chignon, but instead was loose. It tumbled about her shoulders in waves, all disarrayed, in a manner which would have made Meike's mother swoon from the sheer impropriety of it all. The girl's appearance, but was she a girl? Was striking, not only because of her indeterminable age, but because of her eyes, which were widely spaced and fringed with the most luxurious of lashes. Violins and vampires, don't you know it? Her irises were not brown like Henry's, nor blue like Meike's. They were not green, nor hazel, nor gray, nor any of the other shades Meike had seen in the faces of her family's servants, and the attendants at the boutiques to which her mother took her, and the congregation at her local parish. Her irises were, instead, bright red, so much so they bordered on the visceral. Vesbians. Vampires, violins, and vesbians. Beautifully put, Cadentia. These lovely irises were even redder than the blood which had seeped from Meike's sliced cheek and seemed to be full of violence. The girl was a perfect stranger to Meike, but her eyes told more than pleasant chit-chat ever could. She was not normal. I know, right? Why aren't the ears the first thing? You're right, you're right. But you know, it's dark, to be fair. Bye, Mr. Chan. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging out. Meike knew instinctively, as she gazed upon her, that she should keep her distance, if she could. But this only made her, conversely, feel even more enchanted. She could not look away from her. It was as though her captor had placed her under a spell. Yeah, there's also the fangs. You're right. That woman. Henny shifted back, her skirts shifting against the ground. She's the one I told you about, Meike. The one from the woods. She's the one who fought off those bandits. I thought what I saw was unbelievable, but now I know it wasn't a dream. She really is real. She killed all those men. She's a monster. Oh, a monster, am I? The woman's unnatural eyes narrowed and with a smile said, You cut me to the quick, you humans do. At least you would, were I not so accustomed to it. Perhaps I bring it upon myself, given the unusual manner in which I treat my guests, but you could at least try to be polite. Why, if it were not for me, the both of you would be lying in the woods right now, mangled beyond all recognition. So you really were the one who saved us? I thought as much. Yours isn't a face anybody could forget in a hurry. Why, thank you. I will take that as a compliment. I am very striking, I know. Why did you save us, though? And how? I can't believe you brought us back here, wherever it is, on your own. You must have had help. Oh, if only. But alas, I've not had any help for, well, let's see. It must have been a century, at least. A century? Henny gawked at the woman, her eyes agog. But that would make you older than my grandmother! That can't be right! You don't look a day over 18! Oh, do you really think so? You're too kind. Laughing softly, the woman extricated a key from her pocket, then inserted it into the awaiting keyhole. Deftly she turned it, and deftly she stepped inside the cell, the hem of her dark cape dragging against the uneven stone floor. Once inside the cell, she turned to close the door, then locked it anew. There, that ought to do it. It would be horribly tedious if you tried to run from me. I would be able to catch you, of course, but I'd rather not bother with all of the fuss. With the door secured, the woman placed the key inside her pocket and turned to look at her prisoners. Her red eyes met Micah's, which were narrowed with mistrust, and pouting, she said, Now, why are you looking at me like that? You're making me feel quite unwelcome. I thought you would be relieved to see my face after being left to languish in the catacombs of my castle for hours on end, but maybe I was hoping for too much. I have not played Love Curse yet, Cadencia, and you're the second one in chat today to mention. Yeah, it's been on my list for a very long time, but I haven't gotten around to it. Yeah. In any case, you shouldn't frown like that, dear. It's an awful waste. You'll wrinkle your pretty face. This chastisement was familiar to Micah. IRL age difference is questionable, but fantasy age difference is hot. You're 800 years old? Bet. Yeah, exactly. Here, let me make sure I have Love Curse properly bookmarked. Yeah, no, I've had this one bookmarked for a very long time. Okay. She had heard it many times from her mother. While Micah had been trained to obey her mother without question, however, it was not so with this strange woman. Some of her reticence fell away, and needled, Micah said, What I do with my face is my own concern. I'm sure it's none of your business. My goodness! You're feistier than you look. I took you for a shrinking violet, but maybe I was mistaken. You might make for quite the amusing plaything, though you'd be a good sight prettier if you smiled. Oh my god, why are you like a gross man? Smile, beautiful! I can't say I blame you for being so surly, though. I never liked smiling on command either, though it's been many, many years since anybody last tried to give me orders. It's fortunate nobody can tell me what to do now, at least. It came at quite the price, but... Oh well, never mind. Where are my manners? My name is Magdalena, but you may call me Lena. My family's name, meanwhile, is of no particular importance. They might have commanded some respect back in the day, but it is not so now. They have long since been obliterated. I doubt history will remember them. It would not wish to. I am all that is left of their legacy. A fact I would very much love to rub in their faces, but alas, I never got the chance. It is very nice to meet you, for the second time this night. So saying, Magdalena dropped a neat curtsy, taking hold of her cape in lieu of a skirt. But I am afraid I would not be afforded much of a chance to properly know you. While I would relish the chance to speak to a couple young maidens such as yourselves, I have designs for you beyond idle chatter. Saw the tags Chinese Yuri and visual novel, and I was like, I know a popular game that has all those words. I have so many Chinese Yuri VNs saved right now because I was like going to bait myself into practicing my Chinese reading more by playing them in Chinese. And then I didn't, or I haven't yet. I bought a bunch too. And what do you mean by that, exactly? Only that now I have brought you here, I cannot continue to let you live. You have already seen too much. What? Henny stared at Magdalena with wide eyes, so full of fear that air swelled with it. What do you mean? What I said. Do try to keep up. It's awfully tedious having to explain myself down to the finer details. But I suppose you have the right to know the bare minimum, prisoners though you may be. Don't hoard the list for yourself, Ying. I think I made a Notion page. I might be able to share it with you guys once I go through it a little more. It's like a mess right now. I would hate to keep you in suspense. And at this point, it doesn't matter how much you know. You won't be able to tell anybody else what you might learn here. You'll not be venturing forth beyond the walls of my castle ever again." Magdalena smiled, her lips lifting in a wicked grin not so very unlike that of the Joker in Henny's pack of cards. Though Magdalena's face was white, her lips were red, much like her eyes. They stood out in her milky face like a rose blooming despite the winter's chill. Or else, Meike thought with a shudder, freshly spilt blood. "You must understand that I am not a normal woman. No human can hope to best me when it comes to a competition of sheer strength, as the bandits who were pursuing you soon discovered. It didn't take me more than a few seconds to dispatch them. The fight they put up was so pathetic, it makes me wonder why they even bothered. If they'd any respect for my time, they would have slit their own throats with their daggers and saved me the trouble. You humans can be awfully thoughtless. But if they had done that, I wouldn't have been able to bring the leader of their little group back to my castle. He was in a bad way, and I was obliged to introduce myself to him before bestowing upon you similar honors. I really must apologize for making you wait." Magdalena dropped another curtsy, as an elegant lady might, but it smacked of insincerity. How many men and women had Magdalena brought to her castle, and how many had she summarily tortured? Meike knew of at least one, besides herself and Henny. "The bandits' leader. Did you kill him?" "Eventually, yes. It was quite the sight. You ought to have seen the way he begged and pleaded and groveled at my feet. A grown man like that, who was practically made of muscle. Oh, how fickle fortune is. Just 1 hour hence, he was the predator, stalking his prey through the woods, and the next." Magdalena drew a hand across her neck in the unequivocal universal gesture of a slit throat. "Well, what goes around comes around. He got what he deserved, and his screams really were exquisite. Did you, perchance, happen to hear them? He was being rather loud." Yeah, Alice, exactly. That was exactly my logic too, is that reading Yuri VNs would be the motivation I needed to actually read in Chinese. "What? Oh goodness!" "Surprised, are you? You shouldn't be. That man was a bandit, a vulture in a man's flesh who profited on misery. Making big grown men beg, what a woman after my own heart. You get it, Aya." "If it weren't for me, you would have gone the same way as the poor unfortunates in that stalled carriage. The driver and the horses, too." "Oh my god, not the horses!" "Nobody was spared their ravages, man nor beast. They made quite the grisly mess. Were I a century younger, it would have been enough to turn even my stomach. Maybe that is so, but..." Oh, whoops, this is Henny. "Maybe that is so, but to gloat over another death like that, it doesn't seem right. You're twisted." "If I am twisted, that is only because this world..." Magdalena began, but then paused. A momentary furrow captured her brow, but soon it straightened out as though nothing of note had occurred. "Well, never mind that. I do not wish to spout cliches about good and evil. I would begin to bore myself. The fact of the matter is, that man got what he deserved, as did his compatriots. I took great pains to ensure that. I paid that brigand back twofold for what he did to you. Did you know that he tried to be stoic in the beginning? Humans often are. Human males in particular. They have so much pride. It's funny, really, that a cur like that would care so very much about appearances. He was less a man than he was a dog, but he still had the pretensions of greatness, or of grandeur. I soon stripped him of these lofty delusions, however. Humans are very alike in one regard, at least. You all scream the same after your bones have been broken, and you all bleed red. That man was a brigand, I'll grant you that, but who deserved the hangman's noose? But that's for a court of law to decide, not you." Oh my god, Henny, arguing against an obvious vampire is ballsy. "What you did isn't justice, it's barbaric! You shouldn't be taking pleasure in other people's deaths. What gave you the right to kill him, anyway?" "I had every right to kill him. He was trespassing upon my land, as were you and the young lady here. His life was forfeit the moment he encroached upon my territory. The Lord's Prayer may say that we ought to forgive those who wrong us, but I've no patience with such teachings. They do not apply to me. The Lord has forsaken me. I am no longer a member of his congregation. He would have no love for me as I am now, and I have little love for him. I cannot conceive how he would have let me suffer so if he truly existed. Sometimes I do wonder. So you mean to add blasphemy to your list of crimes? She might just be clueless. I feel like of everyone here, like, or at least between these two, Henny would be the least clueless. Henny watched Magdalena murder 4 men. She watched that happen. So I just feel like she would know. So that means that her responses are ballsy. Doesn't that make her even more clueless? I don't know. She would have witnessed it herself, which would make her, I think, she should be more afraid, right? Also thought the hospitality was bad in a very obvious prison. Yeah. She's just, she's just Henny. Oh, I've done far, far worse than that in my time. The morals of you good, sententious churchgoers do not apply to me. I am not of your kind. Sententious. I'm learning words. Sententious. Pompous, preachy, and prone to excessive moralizing. She fell down the power and influence toxic masculinity pipeline. Amazing take. Why? I am a drinker of blood who walks the night. I have been alive for over a century, though my life is very different to yours and your mistress's. I doubt that you could understand me, and neither do I want you to. I've no desire to understand you either. There would be no point. We are much too different. A drinker of blood? But that would make you a vampire? It was Meike who offered forth this label after Henny's voice faltered. Meike was an ardent devourer of books, and she had read before of such shadowy denizens of the night, much to her mother's chagrin. Lady von Essen had thought that Meike, as a well-bred young woman, ought not to read at all. Reading is bad for ladies. It will only excite your mind, dear, but should instead busy herself with embroidery. Meike, however, had always preferred books to busy work, particularly work which involved needles, and she found herself returning to stories time and time again, whenever she needed a break from her own dreary life. Meike had read all manner of books over the years, but she preferred adventure stories full of mystery, intrigue, and yes, even murder. Meike knew, from her reading, that vampires were nocturnal creatures, often aristocratic, who shunned the sunlight, dwelt in ruinous castles, and supped upon the lifeblood of fair maidens. Yes, Meike thought, in an oddly detached manner, that did make sense. She had sensed there was something strange about Magdalena when their eyes had first met. Magdalena really must have been a vampire. It all made sense. At least, it would have, had Meike been a heroine in one of her novels, but life, Meike reminded herself, was not akin to a story. Meike might have consumed books like a starving man, but she had sense enough to know that the words written within the pages of adventure stories were all how do you pronounce that? I've never tried to say it out loud. Skeins? We're all skeins of fiction. Some kind of Carmilla fan? Yeah. Vampires ought to have remained within the realms of make-believe. They had no business walking about as humans did, made of cold, unfeeling flesh with hearts which no longer beat. They were supposed to be constructs, mere figments of fancy. But Magdalena was undoubtedly real, and unsettling though she was, Meike did not take her for a liar. Yes, that is correct. I am a vampire, and this castle is my territory, it and the woods that surround you. You wandered into my domain, you hopeless little lambs, while on the run from those awful bandits. I know none of this is your fault, and I've no quibbles with you. I am not blaming you for what occurred tonight. There. See how fair I am. I'm too nice by half, too nice for my own good cause. Cause? What does that mean? You have been awfully surly with me, the both of you, but I've only ever been polite. I would even let you go if I could. Dispatching of brigands is one thing, but I take no pleasure in harming young ladies. But I fear that would be foolhardy. I cannot allow anybody who has wandered into my realm to leave alive. I do not want you telling tall tales. I should snap both of your necks and be done with it, but... Magdalena's red eyes found Meike's, then held them. But... you're hot. Her smile, which hitherto had seemed so easy, faded as she frowned. You don't seem to be a mere peasant. I can tell from your clothes, dirtied though they are, that you are from a wealthy background. Your voice and your bearing, yes, even the way you look at me. It all suggests that you are, in fact, a lady. Would I be correct in that assessment? Why do you ask? It would be problematic for me if I were to dispatch a woman of renown. I would not want your disappearance to catch the attention of men in high places. If they were to send out a search party into these woods, it's not wholly impossible that they would stumble upon my home. I have lived out of sight from the public eye for nigh on a century, and I've no desire to invite half of Augsburg's constabulary into my home. The idea is incredibly unpleasant. Magdalena pulled a face, as a small child might when confronted with a plate of food they did not much care for. If you really are a lady, I might do well to exercise some caution. I know, classist much? Yeah. I mean, everything about this is classist so far, right? It's like set in, what, medieval Bavaria or something like that? I suppose I can always spare your life and kill only this dowdy common girl. Your maid, I take it? Magdalena looked to Henny now, her lips curled into a mean smile. What do you say to that? It is not a bad trade, is it? Her life for yours? Precious few people who find themselves in my abode are ever able to live to tell the tale. You would be one in... Goodness, how many guests have I had over the years? There must be a good 200 or 300. Aren't you touched by my thoughtfulness? Silence descended in the decrepit cell following Magdalena's announcement. Stuck for words, Meike could only stare at her, her lips parted. What was she to say to Magdalena's proposal? How was she to feel? There was relief, certainly, at the prospect of escaping the cell, but Meike could take no real pleasure in it, not when it would come at the cost of Henny's life. Okay, I need to pee. Give me 1 minute. I will be right back. Ay, 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 ay. I'm back. Hello. Damn it, she muted so we can't hear the pee. I love how Automod got you for that, Cadentia. She might have fed on people outside with that. Are we speculating on like how many people she's eaten over 100 years? I'm gonna have a little snacky. It's a dried plum. Extremely Chinese snack moment. Okay. Stippy timed me again. That's hilarious. Okay, shall we? Did I read this line yet? I didn't catch it because I'm on mobile. Oh, the auto mod? Yeah, auto mod has been pretty aggressive. I think I did adjust my like base moderation settings because they required it for the Minecraft sponsorship. So maybe that's why. I think it's usually on a lower setting. Let me defend myself. You give a time, I'm literal with numbers, and punctuality is a big deal to me. Should I start saying a minute-ish just to fuck with Stippy? Okay. Here we go. There was relief, certainly, at the prospect of escaping the cell, but Meike could take no real pleasure in it, not when it would come at the cost of Henny's life. How could she abandon her friend, who had been by her side since her early childhood? Were it not for Henny, Meike knew she would be dead already, butchered like a farmyard animal in her parents' carriage. I just realized this is, in fact, the game I've been following on Steam since before it released. Exactly, Fwa. Exactly. Me too. The moment 2.5 Studios announced it, I think I was still playing A Date with Death at the time, and I was immediately like, instant bookmark! Henny had rescued her once already. It seemed unconscionable that she should leave her now. Meike turned this over in her mind, worrying her teeth with her lower lip when... Well, if my life's all you're after... Henny, no! Henny, we just got here! Is that... I was wondering why the writer was spending so much time, like, with us in the cell with Henny. I was like, oh, they're trying to get us really attached to Henny. Like, I feel like that's a death flag, but maybe later, you know? I didn't think it would be now. What the... Ain't no way. Really? Henny reached out, taking Meike's hands between her own, and then said, what else is there to think about? Sounds like a fine suggestion to me. Don't you agree, Meike? What? Meike stared into Henny's round, soft face, her eyes vast and uncomprehending. Surely you don't mean that. You're not all right with this, are you, Henny? Well, it'd be a lie if I said I was jumping up and down for joy at the prospect of being eaten by a vampire. Henny's smile wavered, though she tried to maintain a brave face. But if it's what I've got to do to save your life, Meike, then I'll do it. I do love you, after all. I'm not going to let you get hurt. Henny tried to sound brave, but Meike could hear how her voice trembled all the same. Could feel, too, how Henny's hands shook. Henny, like her, had heard the screams of the bandits' leader as they echoed through the halls. Though neither woman had seen his final moments, they knew from his cries that his demise must have been barbarous. Barbarous? Barbarous? I don't know. Meike could not allow Henny to endure such suffering for her sake. She could not allow her to die. Meike knew Henny wished only the best for her, but no. Meike spoke up, her voice surprisingly cool given the wild fluctuations of her heart within her breast. I won't allow that to happen. It wouldn't be right. If one of us must remain here, then it ought to be me. What? No, you can't mean that, Meike. Surely you jest. No, I'm not. You know I have a terrible sense of humor, Henny. I hardly ever tell jokes. I don't have enough levity in me for them. I'm being very serious. You've always looked out for me, ever since I was small. Not that I always listened to you. Don't you remember when I stole the keys to the mausoleum in my insufferable curiosity and crept inside? Barbados! But of course I remember. You dragged me in after you, despite my warnings. And it went about as badly as expected, too. The heart is stored in the boobs. Saturn! Didn't it just... Faintly, Meike smiled. Dire though their situation was, happy to share this memory with Henny. Why, you're right. Well, falling in love with your best friend's murderer, I feel like a lot of these like monster fucker type stories is about the fantasy of like a truly inhuman being, right? And so I could see it working despite that. For all she knew, it might very well have been her last chance to reminisce with her maid like this. Meike knew not what the future held, but... Lady Von Essen was in such an awful mood when she found out. It was quite frightening. I'd never seen anything like it. Oh yes, she was fearfully cross. It's a wonder fire didn't come out of her nostrils. I recall that she struck you. And then when I tried to argue on your behalf, she struck me too. She struck me so hard my ears still ring from it sometimes. God, yes, poor hen. I felt awful about it at the time, really. I did. I didn't care about my punishment. God knows I deserved it. But you'd done nothing wrong. You'd been perfectly reasonable about the whole thing. If I'd listened to you, we could have avoided the Führer? Is that how you spell it? Oh, I guess my American English ass is like there's no E, but in British English it has an E. Today I learned. But I was too reckless. I know, I'm imagining Magdalena literally just sitting there like, are you guys done yet? Like, can I break her neck now? I ignored your wishes, but you still tried to protect me. You jumped to my defense just like a knight. and you were slapped silly for your troubles. It was horribly unfair. I've dragged you into all sorts of messes before, and you've always come to my defense. I'm hungry, speed it up. Yeah, exactly. You've been a wonderful friend to me throughout the years, but I can't keep relying on you. I don't want to take advantage of your kindness. But Meike, I like it when you rely on me. Please, feel free to take advantage. That's what I'm here for. No, I can't. It isn't right. It's long past time that I repaid you. By offering yourself up as a sacrifice in my stead? That isn't what I want. Meike, please. Henny stared at her mistress, her wide eyes entreating. I love you, but you're acting like a crazy woman. And you are the pinnacle of rationality, are you? Considering this crazy deal? That is truly insane. Don't tell me you've accepted all this. Of course I've not accepted it. I'm terrified, really. See how my poor hands are shaking. But one of us biting it has to be better than both of us. If I can protect you, then I must. I will. That's my job. No, it isn't. Not any longer. I'm firing you. I'm absolving you of your duty, Henny. This farce has lasted long enough. What farce? You know what I mean. Magdalena. Yes? Have you quite finished with your little quarrel? I must confess I was beginning to feel rather left out. My apologies. I will endeavor not to be so rude in the future to my hostess. Meike dipped her head in a gesture of esteem, one not so very dissimilar to the way Henny was bidden to bob around her mother. Meike knew she could not afford to anger Magdalena. If Meike was to save Henny, she would be obliged to beg and bow and scrape. Fortunately, begging and bowing were not beyond Meike's means, even though she was a lady. She was no stranger to scraping either, having tearfully entreated her parents to reconsider her marriage prospects. She had failed on that score, but she didn't intend to fail now. She knew what she must say. It seemed a stretch that Magdalena would believe her, but if she did... I fear you are laboring under a misapprehension, Lady Magdalena. Your reasoning is sound. There would indeed be a ruckus if a noblewoman was to go missing, but your application is not. I am not a lady, you see, but my companion is. Oh? Magdalena raised an eyebrow. Then you mean to say you are the maid and this lumpin Henny here is the mistress? That is correct. Yes, I know I am dressed as a lady, albeit a disgraced one, but that was part of Lord and Lady von Essen's ruse. While traveling, they often have me dressed as a lady, while Henny, that is to say Henrika, dresses as a maid. It is a means of subterfuge so that, if our carriage were to be attacked by bandits, I am the one who would be in harm's way rather than my mistress. Only a truly desperate bandit would rummage through the pockets of a maid, especially when she is with her lady. What? Meike, that's... Henny began, but Meike cut her off. She was warming to her ruse, and she found she could not still her tongue, not until she had delivered her whole address. Yeah, she really thought she big-brained this. It's like not believable in the slightest, and she was like, I'm so smart. I'm literally so goated. Lady Henrika is the one whom will be missing in Augsburg, not I. She has a fiancé waiting for her, you know? And he is a very important man. If Magdalena falls for this, she would be just incredibly stupid. Who has the brain cell here? Yeah. She'd be exposed if she was asked to carry a tray for real. Sammy is welcome. Am I winning? I don't know. Can you win a visual novel? How do you win a VN? If she doesn't arrive before the dawning of the next day, he will be certain to send out a search party for her. Yeah, she's getting lost in her own fanfic. You would not want that, would you? Magdalena pondered Meike's tall tale for a few moments, one gloved hand resting upon her hip. As she thought, Meike stared at her, compelling her through sheer force of will to accept her tale at face value. This is where the DM goes like, give me a deception roll with disadvantage. And then you're like, 2 nat 20s. Meike knew her story was patently unbelievable, but she didn't need to convince a whole jury. She needed only to convince Magdalena. An age seemed to pass during which nobody spoke until... Oh, very well. If that is how this is, then I suppose I have no choice. You may leave my abode, Lady Henrika. Here Magdalena dropped another effusive curtsy. If that is, indeed, your real name. I will grant you the chance to reunite with your fiancé in Augsburg, who must be awaiting you with no shortage of anticipation. Who wouldn't, after all, wish to dote upon a maiden as fair and fine as yourself? You're so mean. Lena's so mean. Wait, what was that? I just heard. I am confused. Message for what is the message for Ying? Thank you for the tip. I appreciate it. Thanks for feeding the bird. Yeah, she's for sure playing along. The DC was like over 9,000. Your surprisingly well-spoken maid, however, will be bidden to remain by my side. Do we have a deal? Yes, I would do anything to ensure Lady Henrika's safety. Oh, most assuredly. You would not consent to acting as a decoy on her behalf if you didn't care. What a wonderful friendship you women have. It is quite special, really. Particularly given the disparity in your social statuses. Now, come along, Lady Henrika. It was very lovely to make your acquaintance, but now I fear I must cut our meeting short. Let me escort you to the front door. It is the least I can do for a woman of your lofty status. Lena just did this to stay with the hot lady. Yeah. What? Micah, no! Henny cried, but in vain. Magdalena was soon upon her, her pale fingers winding tight about her wrist. Micah, please stop this! Tell her the truth! I'm sorry, Hen, but... Abashed, Micah dropped her gaze to the stone floor. Though she had given her life for Henny's sake, she found she could not meet her friend's gaze as she was dragged bodily from their cell, under the auspices of keeping the maid as a hostage. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of giving Beauty and the Beast, though, you know? The hurt in Henny's countenance. And, oh, now that's a word I learned through, what did we call it? Vocabulary. Did any of you guys ever do vocabulary in high school? Edgar Allan Poe vocabulary? The word countenance comes up almost every time. The hurt in Henny's countenance and the betrayal stung far too much. This is how it has to be. Says who? I was willing to go along with this woman's plan, but you scuppered it up! I don't understand you at all, Micah. Why would you tell such a tissue of lies for little old me? Magdalena, please. Henny stared at Magdalena, all while trying and failing to dig her heels into the stone floor of her cell. It's a funny concept. Yeah, it's just you read Edgar Allan Poe short stories, and then there's like 20 vocab words per story, basically. Surely you can't believe my mistress. It's obvious she's lying. There's no way she isn't a lady, not with her fancy, proper way of talking. She's far, far more genteel than I could ever dream of being. Her manners are certainly more polished than your own, yes, but perhaps this comes from years of servitude. You could stand to learn a thing or two from your maid, Lady Henrika. Your fiancé won't think much of you as you are now, I'm afraid. Why, you're speaking almost like a fishwife. Now, come along, let us not argue. You will give me a headache. But Micah, I can't leave her, let me go! Henny cried anew, squirming now, but Magdalena's hold upon her did not loosen. If anything, it seemed to grow stronger, to such a degree that Henny screamed. William Faulkner is up there too. Oh, true. Faulkner vocabulary doesn't really have the same ring as vocabulary, though, does it? Ow! Henny's cries echoed throughout the cell, more unbearable than those of the bandit's leader during his final moments. Magdalena had not made Henny bleed, at least, but she was gripping her wrist so tightly Micah feared she might snap it. Henny, who was short and dumpy, you guys are so mean to Henny, could put up a little in the way of a fight. The poor maid was quite helpless before her. There was nothing which could be done, not any longer. Henny would have to leave, while Micah would remain incarcerated in this dreary cell, alone. This was what Micah wanted when she had spun her, frankly, untenable story. Zil, I agree. I'm like, I know it's like for the times, right? To like be, you know, a period fiction, but I'm still just like, you don't have to. So why then did she feel so guilty? With Ebihime's older stuff, she sort of drops $10 words on a dime, sometimes unnaturally. I'm sure she's gotten better throughout the years, though. Oh, that's fair. I feel like I was frequently looking up words when playing Ebihime. Yeah. But I, like, enjoyed it. It didn't feel shoehorned to me. Like, it didn't feel like purple prose. Let go of me! Let go, I say! Micah, please! Henny continued to protest, but Magdalena remained insensible to her cries. The door of the cell was closed once more with a metallic clang, and Micah was left upon the ground, pale-faced, trembling, and all alone. Forced to marry a man she doesn't love, Micah despairs in her future. when she and her family fall afoul of bandits deep in the woods. Is this a trailer? With the help of her maid, Henny, Meike is able to escape. Well, I guess she had like a cloak on over her dress, which is why we didn't recognize what she was wearing. Oh shit! Only to find herself captured by the mysterious vampire Magdalena. I thought you were taller than Lena. Oh! Wow! Meike fears her captor, and yet... I feel like Abby's, like, so-called purple prose is not that, like, rampant, you know? It's like the occasional $10 vocab word, but I'm, like, learning cool vocab. Like, it's not like... Purple prose is really dense, you know what I mean? And unnecessary. And I feel like in a lot of cases the words are... like, they serve their purpose. Wow, guys, we made it to the title screen. It only took me 1.5 hours. It's okay. Now, at first I was like, why are we spending so much time in this cell? But now I get it. It's because we had to be endeared to Henny. Otherwise that scene wouldn't have any, like, meaning. I know, the art is so nice, isn't it? Okay. The time passed at an agonizingly slow pace, you say? Do you reckon? Okay, I won't be an asshole. I won't be an asshole. It's okay. I understand now that that's happened, why. But at the time I was like, this is taking a long time. Okay, as Meike sat on the stone floor of her cell with her legs demurely crossed. The fog again. This is like locking into this long PNG fog. Without Henny to cheer her, the air felt colder than it had before, the shadows darker. Magdalena had taken Henny from the cell so abruptly that she hadn't been afforded the chance to collect her scattered playing cards. Now these cards were strewn upon the floor, red diamonds, red as Magdalena's eyes, and coal-black cubs. Clubs? Meike caught the eyes of a nearby joker, his lips pulling into an unsettling smile, and shivered. I think I'm gonna give one of the ladies a British accent. Like a posh Brit. Which one would you guys prefer? Lena or Meike? Several PNGs overlaid. Yeah, I think it's just a parallax effect. Oh, hi Sapporo. Bye Sapporo. She knew she was being paranoid, but she felt almost as if the card was mocking her. Oh, we have a split vote. Lucy says Magdalena and Liz says Meike. Meike makes the most sense. Two answers and they're the obvious. I vote for the vampire. Oh, it's evenly split right now. Fwa voted for the vampire in YouTube chat, so we have 2 for 2. Sapporo heard British and fled. Meike reached out, fingers trembling, to grab the card and then flipped it over. She did not want to look at the Joker's grinning face. She did not want to think either about what Henny was doing or how she was feeling, and she certainly did not want to think of her own future. Mag should totally do a Transylvania accent. Man, if I could do a Transylvania accent, can you imagine? Do a thick German. Hold on, let me just learn how to do a German accent right now. It'd be funny for 5 minutes. Yeah, no, for real. Oh, Sapporo's, she wants to leave. Hold on, let me let her out. It's because her auto feeder is about to go off in about 30 minutes. Liz, a heavy German accent. I've never done a German accent. I don't even know what that would sound like. It would be easier to drive such musings from her mind, and yet... Though Meike tried to keep her thoughts placid, like the smooth surface of an untroubled lake, sinister queries, sharp-toothed like eels, writhed just beneath the surface. Just make both British. Lena should be Chinese, Texan. Jie, whoa, but yow. I am Dracula. I want to suck your blood. It's just naturally called. I am Count Dracula. I want to suck your blood. It's like when you talk to VAs, they say how there's always like a line and Zill's like, there you go. The VAs will be like, yeah, there's like a line, there's like a trigger line I have to say to like activate the character voice, and like each character has like a line that I say. please use that accent for Magdalena? No! No. Fafafa says maybe the prose is a little lilac, but I wouldn't call it purple. I like that. It is a little lilac. You're right. Lena actually looks like she might sound like Josephine from Dragon Age. What accent does Josephine have? Laughing so hard it's an ab workout. Okay. Suffice it to say, I will not be keeping that accent up for Magdalena. Did she mean to kill Meike quickly, or would she make her suffer first? Magdalena had seemed to derive great pleasure from her torture of the bandits' leader, but she had said she did not care to harm young ladies. I mean, if I'm gonna do like an accurate accent, it would have to be like a Germanic one for either of them, but I can't do that. Not a good one. So I would rather do like a posh Brit to denote social status. Meike could only hope if Magdalena did mean to kill her, she would do so quickly. She'd suffered long enough for one night. No, for one lifetime. Lena actually looks like she might sound like Josephine. Oh, sorry, I already read that. In my heart, this is how I'll read her. Okay, Liz, have fun. Meike, despite her heroism, did not want to die. The thought terrified her. Did you see how that vampire looked at you? You're not dying, girl. You might get eaten. You might be sired as a vampire, but I don't think you're gonna die today. Well, I guess becoming a vampire is kind of dying. When she imagined how Magdalena might kill her, a blade to the throat perhaps, poison, drowning, strangulation. Did you not hear her say she's a vampire? What do you mean poison, drowning, strangulation? She's gonna eat you! If she's gonna kill you, then it's eating you. I fear our heroine might be a little stupid. Believe in the us that believes in you. Go German! Here, let's look up a German accent. Let's see.
You want to know how to make a German accent? Don't worry, this is easy. I teach you.
Don't worry. This is easy. I teach you. Don't worry. You want to know how to do it. I can't do it, guys. There is no way in hell I'm doing that. Oh my god. Das Imperator Chen. Good night. Sleep well. Thanks for hanging out. Yes, in German the W's are pronounced like V's. Yeah, I mean that's how we got like the Volkswagen. I don't remember. Yeah, the V's are pronounced like okay. She did not want to be stabbed or poisoned or drowned or choked. Okay, how about eaten? How would you like to be drained of all blood? How does that sound? She wanted to live. Meike had read stories of knights and their exploits, but she was no chivalrous sir herself. She was a young woman. Though not, as her mother might have reminded her, so very young anymore, and she had little experience of the world beyond her parents' home. Rage baiting them into accent tuning. From an early age, Meike had been taught to hold her tongue, to hold her thoughts, to be sweet and pretty and patient and above all else, pliant. She was not supposed to think for herself, let alone stand up for herself. It wasn't appropriate conduct for a lady. Meike had endured 25 years as such. In this, like, fake medieval Bavaria, not getting engaged till 25 is actually pretty late, isn't it? Wouldn't that have happened earlier? Living only to please her parents and her parents' esteemed visitors, and later her parents' chosen fiancé, but it had not felt like living. The only times Meike felt herself were those when she played cards with Henny, or read her books, or sat up by her window at night and stared out into the garden. Meike was 25, almost 26, but she knew nothing of the world. She says she scraped so her parents didn't marry her off. Oh, maybe she was able to postpone it a little, probably. Fair. She knew nothing of freedom. She had never truly lived. How, then, was she supposed to die? Why I said, perfect, ship it. I can't. I don't know how the vowels sound. She could not pass on Shirley until she had at least been afforded the chance to visit some of the places she'd read about in her stories. Such dreams had been all which had kept Meike going through her dreary days kept indoors. I hope you've been enjoying your lurk, Kami. I know the art is so nice, right? Probably why her mom called her old, says Fafa. She had persevered, not for the sake of her present, which she had lamented, but the hopes of a better future which waited beyond the horizon. Now, Meike feared she would never be able to reach that future. Her life was to be curtailed before it could truly begin. She would never see any of the world now. Paris and Venice and London, Paris, maybe Tokyo. There's something going on anywhere I go tonight. You know the old Hilary Duff song? Paris and Venice and Rome would remain a mystery to her. There's something off about in this font. It's gonna bother me now for the rest of the whole time we're gonna play this VN. So now that it's torturing me, I have to make sure it tortures you as well. Do you see after the M, there's a weird space? There's a kerning issue. Like every time there's an M or an, I think the N's also, like any, remain, mystery. Do you see the kerning issue? And Zill's like, why? If I have to suffer, so do you. Oh, Cadentia has to make a decision of whether they're playing it or not. That makes sense, yeah. You could have kept that to yourself. Now we're gonna suffer too. Sorry, not sorry. Go into your local fonts folder and fix it. I've never tried to fix the kerning on a font before. How do you even do that? Zill is so tortured. She had been born trapped, and now she would die. The only difference was, it was no longer her parents for entrapping her, but a monster. Had her 25 years thus far been a story, Meike thought bitterly, it would have been a hopelessly dull one, full of endless waiting, but precious little doing. Bro, this hurts so bad. Feature of the serif, there's a space before H. Yeah, serif fonts do frequently have kerning issues. Like where I see the W here also, like a lot of the, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the letters have kind of a, maybe it's an A issue. Maybe the A has too much like space before it. Change it to Comic Sans. Can you imagine? Vampire Yuri visual novel? And the font is Comic Sans. Can we stop pointing out it? Zill's gonna lose their mind. The O and the M in Rome. Yeah, right. Waiting to die. Was there any difference between these two states, really, when all was said and done? There's no point crying about it. Meike muttered this under her breath in the dark for her own peace of mind. There's no guarantee I would have been allowed to live even if Magdalena did set me free. I would have had to return to Herr Gerhardt, and we would wed, and then I would spend the rest of my days trapped in his house. I would go from being a cloistered daughter to a cosseted wife. Is that any better, really? In Meike's eyes, it would have been nothing but another form of imprisonment. Well, I was like, it's a good thing you're reading it out loud so we don't have to look at it. Oh my god, are there people who do visual novel streams and don't read the lines? Can you imagine how torturous that would be? You would have to like keep up with their reading speed. And they would just be sitting there silently clicking with like the occasional punctuation of a comment. That'd be really funny. Okay, Walter had the money to travel anywhere, but whether he would be willing to expend these funds on little jaunts for his housebound, bored wife was doubtful. Perhaps it was better this way. Meike had no life, she knew, waiting for her beyond the walls of Magdalena's castle. She'd never been allowed to live as she'd wanted. Bro, the W. Yeah, Zill's like, I can't do this. I fully ruined it. I ruined it for Zill. That being the case, she might as well die. She had nothing left to lose. Minutes passed by. Sorry, I'm actually having a lot of fun watching Zill slowly go insane. We can submit a bug report to the developers. Imagine programming a shitty text-to-speech plugin to read out the text of the VN. Oh no, even worse. Can you imagine like a shitty like AI voice actor? This will ruin my night. I'm so sorry. I'm not actually that sorry. I'm suffering too. I've just kind of, you know, I'm just dealing with it. There's a sound of footsteps. The iron door which partitioned the cell from the hall opened with a scraping squeal, and once more Magdalena entered Meike's cell. Though Magdalena had left with an unwilling Henny in tow, she was now alone. Henny had gone. Well, well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? Oh my god, are you immediately hitting on us? How fare you, my dear captive? I do apologize for the wait. Oh, never mind about me. What about Henny? Did you set her free? Goodness me, your loyalty towards your lady is most profound. I was certain you would be inquiring as to your own fate, but no, you seem only to care for her. You really ought to worry about yourself more given the circumstances. But I shall endeavor to allay your worries. I did indeed set your mistress free. I escorted her to the entrance of my home, then bid her on her merry way. Why do you ask? Do you not trust me? You've done little to deserve it, given the way you've treated Henny and I, but oh, I'm so glad to hear it. I only hope that Henny will be all right on her own. That remains to be seen. I might have set her free, but there's no guarantee she will be able to find her way to Augsburg. Not in the dark, with all this fog. These woods are dense, and the paths are not clearly signposted. It would come as no surprise if she were to find herself lost, or else at the mercy of wild animals. This forest is fair teeming with wolves. Did you know that? Wolves? Oh, yes. This forest is just as much their territory as it is mine, and they often come out at night to hunt. Bandits aren't the only thing fair ladies have to watch out for. But if your lady friend is resourceful and luck is on her side, she should emerge from this trial unscathed. Let us hope that she'll be all right, shall we? Meike said nothing to this, but instead dropped her gaze, her irises fixed upon her knees. Her mind turned, not to her own indeterminable fate, but to Henny, who would now be staggering through the woods, wreathed in ephemeral fog. Meike saw Henny backed against a copse of trees, their branches slender, sinister, as a pack of hungry wolves bore down upon her, their eyes glistening madly in the moonlight. But this was only one possibility. Magdalena had said Henny would need luck on her side, and Henny had that in spades if her performance in Joker was anything to be believed. She'd always been better at cards than Meike. Now, enough about Lady Henrika. She is no longer my captive, and as such is of little interest to me. I would far rather speak to you. To me? Yes, indeed. I've designs on you, my loyal little serving girl. I do hope you'll make yourself useful during your stay. Oh, you're so right, Liz. Designs? Then you mean... Meike pressed her lips, her fingers. Where's my brain? Ayo, they should kiss. I'm like waiting. I'm so waiting. I let out a Freudian slip, okay? Meike pressed her fingers to the base of her throat. She could feel her pulse beating beneath the surface of her cool skin, as erratic as a rabbit caught in a snare. Slightly toxic flirting has started. Do you wish to drain me of my blood? Do you want me to drain you of your blood? Magdalena tittered. 4 less bandits on the road, you're right. Orange Pencil says, I tried to find the Let's Play for Famicom Detective and the streamer did not read any of the lines. Wait, like they just sat there and clicked? I have so many questions. Like, why stream it at that point? Anyway, keep it in your pants. I didn't say I want them to fuck. Not that I'd be against it, right? I just want them to kiss. Magdalena tittered. How very eager you are. It is not that. Do not misunderstand. Oh, wrong voice. It is not that. Do not misunderstand. I wish only, if you mean to kill me, that you would do so quickly. I've grown sick of waiting. Girl, automated Findom streams was the meta on Twitch for a bit. Automated Findom streams? That actually makes so much sense. Like, it would work, wouldn't it? Like, Twitch would be a pretty good way to do... Like... I guess I don't even know what Findoms, like, say. Like, you know, something like, give me $500. Right? Like... Give me $500, you pathetic little freak, right? Like, what did that... Is that how that works? I don't know. Yeah, financial dom. It's like a real kink, yeah. I was really curious about it. I like listened to a podcast and it was like, wow, that sounds like a fun job to be a Findom dominatrix. Literally that, yes. Yeah. But like, say it sexily, I guess. Job, yeah. People do it as like a job. They're financial dominatrix. dominatrices. What is the plural of dominatrix? I don't know. New career opportunity just opened up. It's hard to make it seems like. Like, how would you, you know, you'd have to really research the niche. I sure have not. Oh yes, that look in your eyes is delectable. It may be more so even than your blood. You're so very defiant. But what is this I spy? You appear to be shaking. My. My, with the space. My poor little Micah. Asked me to pay her bills, but sexily. Yeah. Oh, can you not even muster $600 directly wired to my bank account? You're so useless. Right? Like, can you imagine? Just like, that's your whole job is to like insult rich people. Zill's going crazy with the M. That is because of the cold. And not because of your fright. Is it actually dominatria? Is it triple Tauruses? I was able to protect my dear friend. I've nothing to be afraid of now. Then you care nothing for your own life? You want to buy that? Beg. Do you want to buy me a new... What's like an exorbitantly expensive... I'm a very simple man with very simple desires. Gold bar? Like, what's a rich people buy? Oh, you can't even pay my mortgage? That's like not sexy. Anyway, it's really funny because it's kind of like sugaring, but like opposite. Okay, I've never been afforded a life. You may take it if you wish. You wouldn't be the only one. Student loans. Oh, that's so funny. If someone paid my mortgage, I would find that extremely sexy. A down payment on a house. Oh, you can't even buy a house? Worthless mongrel. German accent in a Finn Dom channel. I'll insult rich people for free. Heck, I'd pay to insult rich people. You're so right. Okay. Yes, that is the fate. Or so I have heard of being a servant. You poor dear. Magdalena's red eyes softened, and for a moment Micah wondered whether she could not see a trace of sympathy upon her captor's fair face. It lasted only a second, however, before it ended. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm afraid I can't comply with your request. For the moment, that is. I will drain your blood in due course, but I've no desire to do so now. The bandits I encountered earlier made for more than a satisfactory meal. I'm so glutted, I do not think I could drink another drop of blood. Then, you mean to draw this farce out longer still? I'll draw it out for as long as I wish, until I'm sufficiently thirsty. There seems little sense in overindulging. I'm sure that your blood would taste sweeter than a bandit's, but that only makes it more imperative that I save you until I truly want you. You don't have, like, blood bags in a fridge? Though it was Micah's death Magdalena spoke of, there's something sultry, seductive even, in the way she stressed her words. Micah, who was unused to being wanted, found the blood pooling beneath her cheeks. No king shaming, only king saving. Despite the chill which clung to her. How would it feel when Magdalena brought her lips to her neck? Would it hurt? She supposed she would feel a prickling sensation as Magdalena's teeth sank into her flesh, and then... Now, won't you come with me? You'll catch your death of cold staying inside this jury cell, and then you'll be of no use to anybody. If I am to enjoy you properly, I would prefer to do so while your body is still warm. What? Michael looked at Magdalena, her blue eyes uncomprehending. Are you really letting me go? In a manner of speaking, yes. Though I'll only be transporting you from one prison to another. As your hostess, I don't believe that these quarters are wholly appropriate for a long-term stay, especially not for a fair maiden such as yourself. You will be in my abode for several days yet, I fear, until I have further need of you. Until then, I would like you to live in some measure of comfort. How unexpected. I didn't know that you were so gracious. I can be. I've hidden depths. Can you imagine? Yeah, bro, I'm like super deep. You have no idea. The depths. I've hidden depths, much like the forest that surrounds my humble abode. I do so hate to see you shiver so, and your skin is so pale, poor dear. You and I could almost be sisters. White skin may be fitting for us vampires, but it isn't so for maidens. Not even the fairest in all the land. I'm like not like other vampires. Yeah, exactly, triple Tauruses. Now, please follow me. I doubt you've any real wish to stay here languishing, unless you mean to make a further martyr of yourself. No, Meike bit her lower lip. She was loath to accept kindness from Magdalena, but she did raise a fair point. It was cold in her cell, and miserable alongside it. If she remained there overnight, it did not seem impossible that the blood in her veins really might freeze. Meike had already given up on her own life, but she did not want to die as a stray dog racked with shivers. If that is what you want from me, then I've no reason to refuse. How very biddable you are. The words which come from your mouth might be stubborn, but it seems you've experience when it comes to following orders. Ooh! Yippee! Of course I do. I'm a maid, like I said. Ah, yes, so you did. That would explain your servility. Ooh! Part of me was hoping you might refuse, so that I would be bidden to carry you. Oh my god, Lena! But this is fine too. It spares me the effort. Shall we? Please, by all means, lead the way. Meike dropped Magdalena a curtsy this time, taking her dirtied skirts between her fingers, the pads of which had turned pink from the cold. At least Lena didn't fall for the hopeful D20 lie. Magdalena smiled at this. Like, I feel like Maika's a little stupid and Lena's a little, you know, very sharp. Problematic intelligence gap. For a prisoner, you're awfully cheeky. Then turned upon her heel after bidding Meike to follow. Naturally, Meike obeyed. She could see she had little choice in the matter. Magdalena led Meike down a twisting hallway packed full of cells identical to the one Meike and Henny had been imprisoned in. I guess this is basically her fridge, right? Like, she just keeps people here so that they can be alive when she feasts on them. Meike tried not to peer into these cells as she passed them, but curiosity soon overcame her and she found her head swiveling. She feared, as she stared through the darkness, that she might encounter sights more horrific than she was capable of comprehending. Rusted torture instruments, perhaps, or dead bodies. But it was so very dark in the bowels of Magdalena's home that Meike could scarcely see anything. Her fridge! It's her fridge! It's her fridge! These are her larders! This is her pantry! Not even the moonlight, which spilled intermittently through the barred windows, could fully illuminate the sprawling prison complex. This, Meike supposed, tearing her eyes away from one of the cells as she passed it, was probably a good thing. She had witnessed enough horrors for one night. Magdalena eventually brought Meike to the foot of a staircase which led up from her subterranean cells. Careful. Magdalena cautioned Meike before they began their ascent. These steps are steep and slippery, too. Oh my god, are we gonna get like a shoujo manga? Like, I slipped. Don't worry, I'll catch you. Oh, no. No. If you fall, you may break your neck. Had Meike been less nervous, she might have laughed to hear her jailer fuss over her so. A broken neck didn't seem like a very cruel fate when compared to Magdalena's designs upon her. Perhaps it would be quicker to die thus, rather than having her blood drained. Liz is like, oh thank god. Good. Saving good. Positive reinforcement. It is a huge fridge, Lucy. At the very least, it would be a swifter demise than freezing in her prison cell. Imagine Meike falls and Magdalena just lets her. That would be so much funnier. You're so right. Meike felt little in the way of humor, however, as she took the chill banister beneath her right hand and began to climb. She could recognize the irony in Magdalena's warning, though only vaguely. Her mouth felt hewn into a permanent line, as though carved from stone, her brow furrowed. It seemed unlikely she would ever smile again. The chill of the basement faded as Meike cleared the final step of the twisting staircase, to emerge in a spacious hallway lined with arched windows. The hallway was not so very dissimilar in decor to her parents' home, though it was less ornate, the furnishings worn down by old age. Control S every 0.004 seconds. I feel like it's because I've been on Google Docs for so long. Like I haven't used Word in like the better part of a decade. It was apparent that Magdalena's home had once been noble, but it had clearly fallen to rot and ruin, its heyday long since past. The air in the ground floor smelt almost as rank as that in the dungeon, and every conceivable surface was heaped with inches of dust. There was so much dust, in fact, that Meike could feel it in the air when she inhaled. The dust irritated her eyes and nose and laid heavily, unpleasantly upon her tongue. Meike swallowed, hoping to void her mouth of the taste of decay, but in vain. The dust was so thick she sneezed, which prompted Magdalena to say, "Bless you." Thank you. Meike replied, abashed, and then, "I thought you did not care for God or his teachings?" "I don't, but I presume that you do. I thought you might appreciate it." "I see. How very thoughtful of you." "Corvus, good afternoon. Am I winning? Can I win a visual novel?" "Then yes." "I know." "Oh, I know. For a vampire, I'm unusually sensitive." Bro, every line out of her mouth is so sexy. Wow. Mute with fatigue, Meike continued to follow Magdalena to the end of the hall wherein a wooden door was inlaid. It is very sapphic, Corvus. Magdalena seized the brass handle and twisted it, then pushed it ajar. It stuck for a few moments as though unwilling to move, but soon shifted, creaking as it did so. When the door swung back, it was to reveal a vast, spacious room with a ceiling so cavernous Meike had to crane her neck to see it. A large, ornate staircase was set in the center of the room, which rose to the floor above it, the banisters made of wrought iron. This, Meike supposed, must have been the entrance hall. It had clearly been designed to impress, for its vastness was almost dizzying. Magdalena's home, could it really be a castle? Was larger even than Meike's, and vast enough to be unnerving. Trapped within this scene of spoilt luxury, Meike felt smaller than ever before, a tiny doll rather than a grown woman, rattling about in a playhouse. You win the visual novel when they kiss. Oh, you're so right. In which case, we haven't won yet. They haven't kissed yet. The entrance hall must have been fine once, but it showed clear signs of deterioration. The dust was so profuse it made Meike's eyes water, and several of the stone steps which led upwards were cracked and chipped. A grand piano could be found in one corner of the room, but its lid was shut, and Meike doubted it had been played, if it still could be played, in decades. There was a chandelier in the entrance hall, hanging aloft from the high ceiling, but when Meike craned her neck upwards, she could see even in the dark that it was festooned with spiderwebs. The house might have been grand once, but it was not so now. It seemed a wonder, really, that it still stood when clearly it was uncared for. "Your servants don't seem to be working very hard." Meike spoke lightly, her voice swallowed by empty air. "Perhaps you ought to see to hiring new staff. My mistress would never permit." Meike brought her hand to the banister of the grand staircase, then drew it back, wincing. The pads of her thumb and index finger were fuzzy with dust. "This." "Oh?" Magdalena, who had already begun to ascend the staircase, turned to look at Meike and smiled. "Are you judging my home, Meike?" "I would never presume to be so rude. I just thought it might feel more homey, that's all, if it were less of a pile." Magdalena laughed, then shook her head. "You are quite right, of course, to judge. Please, judge away to your heart's content. I've never been a fan of this place myself. Its scale is too grandiose, even for my liking." Why didn't you, move? "Oh, Lucy, sleep well. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one." She's been alive for at least a century, is what she said. Why not leave? Why live here? To what end? Nothing's keeping you here. "My great-grandfather, it was he who had this place built, had more money than sense and absolutely no taste to back it up. A house has no need to be this large. But there was land enough for it, and money too. And when a man has land and money and means, he will often think, well, why not? Practicality matters little in the decisions of great men, and neither, to my unending woe, does aesthetic sense. I can believe that. My own father, my, master, rather." "You're a shit-ass liar." Meike's face flushed at this gaffe, and the tips of her ears turned pink. Yeah, very girl, you live like this? Exactly, why? "Have filled my own residence with pointless baubles. They were all very expensive, but not particularly cohesive. The parlor looked like a museum once he was through with it. It hardly seemed like a place to sit and relax. I was too afraid to spend any measure of time in there in case I broke something." "Then it seems we have something in common." I found this place dismal even when my family was alive. And we had a legion of maids back then to keep everything spick and span. They kept the dust and the cobwebs at bay, bless their hearts, but they couldn't combat the loneliness. Now my family is dead, and all our maids along with them. I can hardly take on new hires, being what I am, so my home was rather left to go to ruin. I clean what I can, but there's so very much house to clean, and only one of me. It's quite the overwhelming challenge. About half her lines have been trashing on arrogant men. I like her. Yeah, exactly. My attempts at cleaning have fallen quite by the wayside during the last half a century. I hope you can forgive my slovenliness. Oh, no, it's fine. I understand. You are too kind. Magdalena's red eye softened as they head back in the dungeon with something akin to sympathy. But before Meike could ponder this, her jailer turned. Oh, listen to me prattle on. It is most inconsiderate of me, especially when you must be tired. Let us make haste to your room. Isn't it very Beauty and the Beast? Meike followed behind Magdalena as a puppy might, almost grateful to her for the promise of a room and of a bed. She just likes the local food. It's hard to move her home cooking. I presume she ate all the maids. It was as Magdalena said. She really did feel tired. She was more than ready to lie down beneath warm covers, or even lukewarm covers, and sleep. Anything would have been better than the stone floor upon which she had been lying. It's Beauty and the Beast, but Edward version instead of Jacob. Oh my god, you're right. It's a Team Edward Beauty and the Beast. Meike yawned, her eyes blossoming with tears anew while pressing her right hand, fingertips still flecked with dust, instinctively to her mouth. Oh? But half asleep though she was, Meike's senses were alert enough for her to detect a sudden noise. There came, through the yawning gulf of the entrance hall, a sound not dissimilar to that Meike had heard in the dungeon. It was a scream. Or was it? Meike was unsure. But the beast wasn't meant to be hot, but you know already how much disagreement... Cadentia, please. Well, I feel like you phrased it correctly, though. The beast wasn't meant to be hot is probably correct. Is the beast hot, though? I feel the answer is obvious. This scream was fainter than the one she had detected in the dungeon, and seemed to emit not from the ground under which the cells lay, but above her head. Soy Bunny, yes. Zero hesitation. Was there another person concealed in Magdalena's abode? Somebody other than herself? Was it another captive kept separate from the rest? Was it Henny? Magdalena? Lena, please. Magdalena is quite the mouthful. I would rather you use a nickname as you did with your mistress. Meike wished to contest this. Her relationship with Magdalena wasn't close enough to allow the use of nicknames, but she felt too tired to engage in an argument. Beast was hotter as a beast. I know what I'm about. You get it, Corvus. You get it. You get it. When he turned into a man and my entire brain was like, aw, man. What did it matter, really, how she addressed Magdalena, when soon she would be dead? Lena, then. What was that noise I just heard? What noise? You didn't hear it? Meike stared at Magdalena, her expression one of patent disbelief. It wasn't very loud, I'll grant you, but it was unmistakable. I swear it sounded just like a scream. A scream, Magdalena pondered, one hand beneath her chin. Such sounds are not unheard of in my abode when I'm attending to a prisoner. Meike shivered. But there's nobody here now except me and you. Nobody living, at least. Then it's not the imprisoned bandit? Certainly not. He will never make a peep again. I made sure of that with my own 2 hands. It would be hard for him to speak with half his throat torn. It would be hard for him to speak with half his throat torn out, you see. Oh. Meike pressed a hand to her own throat as if to check its integrity, and as she did so, choked. The air was so thick with dust it was hard to breathe. Now, dear, worry not. It was not your mistress who screamed thus, if that is what you were wondering. I am a woman of my word, and I promise I let her go. She is quite... well, she's not necessarily all right, but she is away from me, and there is the possibility that she might live to see another dawn. Then who screamed? What was that sound? It must have been your imagination. You have overexerted yourself after this night's events. Anybody would be exhausted in your situation. It didn't feel like a dream, though. No. Magdalena shrugged in a manner which did not seem quite in keeping with her aristocratic bearing. I suppose it must have been the wind, then. It is very drafty in here. Is that all? That's all it could have been, unless you mean to suggest that the dead can speak. Magdalena's red eyes bored into Meike, so intense Meike feared they would consume her. Unsettled, Meike glanced away. No, I wasn't suggesting that. Good. I know it is expected for women to lose their minds at the drop of a hat, but I've grown quite sick of being regarded as the weaker sex. I'm pleased to see you're doing your level best not to let us down. Oh my god, OG feminism? Question mark? Girl bossery? Why, you haven't swooned even once, which is more than most men can say when I bring them here. It's really quite commendable. You might swoon, though, from a lack of sleep, if we continue to tarry. Let us be off, or we shall never make it to our destination. Meike nodded and then followed along behind her hostess anew. She could no longer hear the scream, but its memory haunted her all the same. Kaya, welcome! That cry she had heard, though briefly, had not sounded like the breeze, regardless of what Magdalena had said. Meike was certain that the sound had belonged to a person, but why would Magdalena lie about such a thing? Fair, I'd be folding like laundry. It was impossible to say. Wow, it's our first time seeing both of them in like proper lighting. Here we are, home sweet home. So? Oh, so? Magdalena looked at Meike, an amused smile playing about her lips. What do you think? Meike examined the room mutely, her hands folded at her front. The chamber Magdalena had brought her to was very dark. It was dark, lit only by a pair of candles on either side of the bed. Meike could see, despite the darkness, that it was every bit as derelict as the rest of Magdalena's home. However, and even if she hadn't been able to see it, she would have been able to smell it. The air was fusty, as though it had been left to circulate inside the room for years upon end, which it most likely had. I mean, I'm assuming Lena doesn't need to breathe anymore, so... Every surface, meanwhile, was covered in dust. The sheets upon the bed, though neatly made, were holey with age and with insects, as was the carpet upon the floor. It was a sad room, which had been ignorant of human occupation for years, but it was still the superior set of lodgings to those in which Meike had awoken. At least this room had a bed, a four-poster one no less, like the one in Meike's home, with a mattress and sheets upon which Meike could rest her weary limbs. The bedchamber had a wardrobe, too, though Meike possessed nothing to store in it save for the tattered clothes upon her own back. There was a writing desk upon which lay a basin for washing, and a chamber pot for more delicate business beneath. This pot was, thankfully, far cleaner than the one Meike had found in the dungeon, so white and spotless she imagined it unused. The desk faced a large window, which was currently obscured by a set of dark blue curtains. Meike could not see beyond this window, though she doubted she would have been afforded much of a view even if she had drawn the curtains back. It was very late, after all. It was not as cold in this room as it was in the underground cells, but it wasn't warm either. The wind crept in through fine cracks in the aged windows to toy with the reddish-orange flames of the two lit candles. To toy, too, with Meike's hair and the hem of her dress. She shivered. Do you not have a tongue in your head? Magdalena needled Meike, who had yet to speak. Don't tell me that you've come over all shy. I brought you to this room solely that you might sleep. I have no wicked designs on your innocence, regardless of how pretty you are. Lena, Meike didn't say anything about whether you had designs on her innocence. Like, you're the one who brought that up, okay? Out of nowhere. Aurora was like, aw, why not? Multi-fandom like, sure. I only want your blood, not your body. I only want your blood, not your body is crazy. Okay. Insecurity speaking. I beg your pardon? Meike blinked at Magdalena, uncomprehending. What designs are you speaking of? You cannot tell. Yeah, I was right. Micah's a little slow. I'm sure I've no idea. None whatsoever? None at all. I'm wholly ignorant of such affairs. Goodness me. Magdalena rolled her red eyes upward to the ceiling, which seemed to sag beneath its own weight. I can't tell whether you are being dense on purpose or whether you really are that innocent. Did your mother never teach you what men and women do in chambers such as this? Yeah, but you're... Why would you bring up, like... Hold on. Why would you, in the context of lesbianism, why would you bring up heteronormativity? Like... What do you mean, men and women? My mother did not, no. She thought such topics beneath her. That was my governess's job, although I don't think that I would care to do much of anything in a chamber like this one. It smells like the grave. I know, it is a very predatory smile. It would be a weird plot twist that she's actually playing hella dumb. I mean, I think she is, though. I think like there are earlier scenes where she wasn't, and this current scene is mostly her playing dumb, is my read. Tut tut. You're being rather rude about my home, you know? Here I am, trying to be a good hostess, and you throw my kindness back in my face. I know you do not like your home much either. You told me. Touché. I did try to pick out one of the pleasanter rooms for you, but there are so very many of them, it is difficult to keep abreast of them all. I rarely have visitors over, and when I do, they all get thrown into the dungeon. There seems little point, therefore, in keeping these rooms spick and span. Magdalena's such a creepy old dude. Yeah, she really is like written like a creepy old guy. You're so right, why? I hope you can forgive all the dust and the general disuse. Oh, I've more to take issue with than that. Yes, I suppose you do. You must have quite the bone to pick with me. Maybe I do, but not right now. I'm too tired. Yes, you do look it. Your face is frightfully pale. I think a good night's sleep is what the doctor ordered. Provided you are able to rest, that is. The room with a bunch of cobwebs and musty walls. Yeah, it's the nicer room. She said the nicer room. That would be nice, but... Micah let her fingers trail along the brocaded covers of the bed, her expression pensive. What did you mean earlier when you said you'd no designs on my innocence? Dear me, I thought that you were joking. But I can see that you're in no fit state for it. I don't tell jokes. I've little to laugh about. Bro, really? You weren't playing dumb? And you have even less to laugh about now, you poor dear. Magdalena cleared her throat. I meant only to say that I would not do unto you as a man might, regardless of our surroundings. I've no nefarious intentions, of that you can be assured. Micah thought of her governess's explanation of sex and of Walter's expectations come their wedding night and flushed. If the sudden rush of blood beneath her cheeks enticed Magdalena in any way, she did not show it, though her fingers did twitch in their tight, constricting gloves. I don't understand. I know what men and women do behind closed doors, but how could two women set about something similar? It's not possible. Okay, this is always one of my questions whenever there's like, whenever there's yuri or yaoi or like whatever it may be, like any kind of queer stuff in a fictional story, I'm always like, in the world that they're set in, is it a norm or is it like a heteronormative world, right? And so this clearly is a heteronormative world. Cool. This answers my question. You think so? I know so. My governess explained everything to me in great detail. When one wishes to make a baby, well, two women cannot do that. There would be no sense to it. And do you think people ought to do things only because they make sense? That is quite narrow-minded. But people are often uneducated in such affairs, both in my time and your own. In some ways, the world has changed a great deal, yet in others, well, never mind. I can see I'm only confusing you. You're so very innocent, it hurts. Perhaps it is to be expected, though. Ladies ought not to know of such things. They are born and bred to be ignorant. What? Micah had not understood the full implications of Magdalena's previous lament, but she understood well enough what she meant by this. Why would you call me that? I already told you I'm not a lady. I am Lady Henrika's faithful servant. Yes, you did say. And that's true. She is the lady, not I. You did labor that point quite intensely. Yes, back in the cells, you were so fervent about it. You almost had me fooled. Lena like, oh, you almost got me. Oh yeah, it was like so believable. At least you would have, if you weren't such a terrible actress. What? Oh, don't what me. It's quite tiresome. Did you think I'd fail to notice all of your fancy turns of phrase? Your vocabulary is that of a well-to-do young madame, not a maid. Not even a lady's maid. You wear that sumptuous dress of yours easily, dirtied though it is, and your bearing is definitively regal. You could never hope to pass as a common serving girl, not in a month of Sundays. I'm not stupid. Then Meike sank down on the bed, which creaked beneath her as if in warning. Her palms were pressed to the mattress to support her weight, which all of a sudden felt excessive, and her heart was pounding like a drum. I'm glad they're playing this as straight as it should be. You knew I was lying from the very beginning? Oh my gosh, she really is just stupid. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how much of this was Meike just playing dumb and how much of it was like, she's genuinely dumb. Problematic intelligence gap. Indeed I did. It was very obvious. I can tell you have no practice in deceit, Meike. You're much too sweet for it. But if you knew I was lying, why did you agree to let Henny go? Herr Gerhardt wouldn't lift a finger to aid Henny if she disappeared, but he will surely come looking for me. Herr Gerhardt? Is that the name of your fiancé? Yes, it is. And you don't refer to him by his Christian name? That is... Dear me. You mustn't be very close to the man. Why, you make him sound like a stranger. Do you truly wish to marry him? I hadn't any choice. My parents... yes, it was silly of me to ask. That is how it always goes, isn't it? And what of your fiancé? Does he know you well enough to try and rescue you? I think he might. Meike swallowed, tasting dust on her tongue. He's an important businessman. He takes exacting care over his investments, or so I've heard. Sapporo was pathetically meowing. Let me let her in. Hello. I'm going to hold you up like Simba to stream. Are you ready? Yeah? You want me to hold you up like Simba? I'm gonna hold you up like Simba. I'm gonna hold you up like Simba. Chat, look. I have Sapporo. She's so mad. She's so mad. She's so mad. Okay. Damn. When the claws start coming out, that's when I have to let go. Had to leave for a moment because there was a six-legged monster on my window. I'm sorry, Liz. Kitty cat complaining. She hates being carried. It's like her least favorite thing. I imagine it would be the same for me too. Oh, she's referring to herself as like an investment, like property. F. Have they kissed? Yes. They have not kissed yet, Liz. I am a Von Essen, after all. There would be a lot of prestige in wedding me. So, that is how he regards you, as a profitable purchase? Oh my gosh, she looks mad. She actually is the sexiest when she's mad, I feel like. I cannot say. After all, I hardly know him, and therefore cannot judge how he sees you. Does that sum it up? It is not entirely inaccurate, no? What a woeful state of affairs this is. It sounds like you would be wretched whether you were in my home or out of it, particularly if the latter would entail being by this Herr Gerhardt's side. Perhaps I did you a favor by bringing you here? Meike did not reply to this. She did not want to give Magdalena the satisfaction. Oh, there's no longer the black. Oh, the black edges are gone. You're right. Yeah, it's like a deep vignette, right? Well, never mind all that. Your fiancé can try to look for you if he likes. I do not care. I doubt he would be able to best me. But you said you wish to avoid all that. Did I really? Yes, you did. That's why you proposed letting me go. Oh, yes. Good memory. It would seem that the cold hasn't eaten away at all of your faculties. Not just yet, at least. As for why I changed my mind, well, that needn't concern you. 100% it's because you're hot. 100% it's because you're hot, Meike. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to her. But this is about me. Surely it must concern me. Oh, there was no real reason behind it. It was nothing more than an act of whimsy on my behalf. If you truly want to know why I went along with your chicanery, is how you pronounce it, then, let us say that I felt touched when you offered to throw your life away for the sake of your maid. Few mistresses would be capable of such compassion. It was truly remarkable. I didn't want your efforts to be in vain, that's all. And you're prepared to put yourself in danger for that? I won't be in any danger. I'm a vampire. I can shatter rib cages with a single touch. Or thereabouts, at least. Now, you really must get some sleep. It will be much better for you than asking all of these silly questions. But I've nothing to change into. What will I sleep in? I considered as much and took the liberty of stocking these drawers with some of my own clothes before I fetched you. Chicanery has a long A sound? You know what? Let's look it up. Why does it feel like this line was meant to be sexy?
Chicanery.
Oh, chicanery. Chicanery. You should find that they fit, more or less, and they're clean, which is more than can be said for the rest of the linens in this place. Oh, she planned this 100%. This was planned. Yes. Indeed. There are books on the shelves, too, which you may read, and I drew up a basin of water for you to wash yourself in upon waking. You could find no better amenities in any inn. I do hope you've had a pleasant night, and sweet dreams. Magdalena smiled sardonically, then dropped Meike another curtsy. Just try not to breathe in through your nose if the smell bothers you. I wouldn't want you to spend the night coughing. A fair lady such as you needs her sleep. Laughing to herself, Magdalena straightened, then turned. She departed, her long cloak trailing behind against this age-spotted carpet, and shut the door behind her. Meike waited until she heard Magdalena's footsteps fade, then rose once more to her feet. Something in my throat. She crossed the room, her legs trembling, and seized the doorknob between her fingers, but it stubbornly refused to budge. The door was locked. Well, of course it is. What did I expect? Defeated, Meike returned to the bed. Weary from all that had happened, she collapsed upon it, her loose hair strewn in spirals across the sheets. Meike stared up at the ceiling, which was drenched in darkness, and softly muttered, "What am I going to do now?" Meike's question, of course. What? You want to come up here? Did you guys hear that? Sapporo seems upset with me. That was such a loud meow, Sapporo. She has some opinions. Sapporo's like, they should just kiss already. Meike's question, of course, fell upon deaf ears. There was nobody to hear her. She was all alone. Do you see what I see? I mean, like, if I were a vampire, I also would have gone for that. Ooh. She shouldn't be alone. The merp wobble when they jump. Yeah, exactly. Whew, all right. Like, Wait, are these the clothes that she supposedly... These don't look like clothes, dude. Like, Lena was like, I left you some of my old clothes. They're clean, don't worry. This is 100% like a bed sheet. Like, she's wrapped in a bed sheet. The contrast between her hair and the sheets. Yeah, the subtlety of it. Bro's dressing in sheets. Yep. I have to say, whoever drew this, like, has, a really great taste in, like, breasting boobily. Like, really erotically drawn, even if technically revealing nothing. You know what I mean? Good shit. That's some good shit. That's some good shit. Stellar composition, yes. I see what you mean, yeah. The bed was more comfortable than the cell in which he had been held, but it was almost as cold, its thin sheets eaten away by old age and insects. At least the dungeon, with its sole wooden cot and its solitary window, was supposed to be inhospitable. I need a screenshot, guys. I can't just pretend like this screen isn't insanely beautiful. If you pay attention to the arrows in the picture, they point towards her frame really nicely. Oh, you're so right. The way the sheets, like the folds, and they like kind of converge your eye. Oh, I see where they're converging your eye with the lighting too. Also, the hair makes it feel like she really is falling on the bed and being swallowed by it. Yeah, 100%. Rock CR on Twitter for the artist. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me see. I think it was on Ebihime's itch.io page. Oh, I have to put in my birthday. Hold on. Oh, Allison, happy resub. Happy 9 months. We have a Twitch baby. Caveman is a hottie. Perfect timing, Allison. Perfect timing. The background art is by So Mate Studio. Hold on. This is background art is these people. Let me drop it in both chats. And then character design and CG art is Rock CR. Let me drop it in both chats again. This is Cage of Roses, yes. Okay, shall we continue? My other cursed thought is my brain was like, Himeko! I feel like the almost Greco-Roman look of the sheets, right? This bedroom, meanwhile, was a different matter. It was richly furnished, but all of its decorations had since been ravaged by time's unrepentant advances. The men and women who must have stayed in this room once, more than a century ago, would surely be dead now. In that sense, the room felt akin to a crypt. Did that make the bed a sarcophagus? Meike a corpse? Magdalena had spared Micah's life for the present, but Micah doubted that she would be so fortunate in the future. Magdalena was not, Micah reminded herself, a human, but a vampire. She meant to suck Micah of her blood, and when she did, Micah would lose her life, just as this room's previous inhabitants surely had. Vampire Himeko, you're cooking! This brain ain't massive for no reason, okay? Magdalena's home was so decrepit it seemed unfathomable that life could flourish within its walls. It was not so very different, really, from the Von Essen mausoleum. The air even smelt the same. She meant to suck Micah's out of very wrong. It smelt of death. No matter how Micah tried, she could not get comfortable. All the while, as she tried to sleep, she heard the wind howling outside, creeping stealthily like black cloaked thieves through the cracks in the glass panes. Micah's bare toes curled against the mattress. Anxiously, she shuddered. Good save, good Liz is hell-bent on the positive reinforcement for my saving habit. What was to become of her now? The night that never ended. Read the first act. I mean, I feel like that's a great stopping point then, if we're exactly done with the first act. Oh my god, I think Sapporo like actually nicked me on the throat earlier. It's like so itchy. Huh. Alright, well, in that case, let's, hold on, let's overwrite this one. Let's come back next time. We're exactly at 3 hours, so I feel like it's a good stopping point. How do we feel so far? I feel like vampires are always even like Bram Stoker Dracula, right, was really sensual if not sexual, and I feel like it makes sense for like I'm actually shocked I've never seen a vampire Yuri VN before this one. Like it just makes sense. Excellent VN. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself so far. I was looking up screenshots, so I got a little bit spoilered because I was trying to make thumbnails for this stream reservation. My next stream reservation for this is already up. I think we'll do it Friday. So you can bookmark that if you want on YouTube side. But I wish Twitch would let us do that more easily. But there's a lot of like really, let's just say that sexy times abound. Oh, bye Sephora. Sexy times truly abound in this visual novel, and I've seen some truly spicy screenshots, and I'm really excited. But I also think I'm probably gonna have to mark the next stream 18 plus. Like it's not actually, nothing is actually visible, but it's illustrated in a way that is like extremely sensual and sexual. So I miss Henny already. Yeah. Great stopping point. I feel like the dynamics is going to pop off next time. Yeah. I feel like now we're going to get their banter. Enjoying it so far. Good to hear. And good night to you. All right. Well, great stopping point. I actually have Father's Day dinner tonight because my dad is going to be traveling during Father's Day. So we're making up for it tonight. So I should end right around now. It's almost time. Let's see if I have somebody to raid. I should end right around now. Oh, that's my own stream audio. Oh, Tofi is continuing her debut, so we should probably do that. Yena's playing Woo-Wah. Issa's on CS. Karo's on Magic. I think that's it for my friends who are streaming. I guess let's go to Tofi. I think I most recently raided Tofi also. So some of you may already be acquainted. But Tofi is doing like a whole event for her 3.0 VTuber debut. And her new model looks absolutely beautiful. Like it's genuinely really gorgeous. I think it suits her aesthetic so well. I'm really excited that she's finally able to release it. Sorry, I got distracted because I was like approving the auto mod. I hope we get to see Meike sucking at cleaning. Yeah, it would be really funny. Woo-Wah mentioned, does this actually have sex scenes or a patch for it? The older Abihima VNs did have erotic scenes. Kanenji, I think the screenshots I saw were like, I don't know if it was like exactly a sex scene, because if it were, I think this game would have been required to be set as 18 plus, but it's not. So I think it's in the realm of like sexy without necessarily being openly like a narrated like erotic scene, right? So I think that's kind of where we're at with this one. Yeah. Okay. Whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, have a wonderful time of day. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this so far. I've been waiting for it since it was announced, and then I think it was released like fairly recently. So I'm excited to finally start playing it. I'm really enjoying our like little VN grind that we've been on. So I'm always happy to see that you guys are enjoying it also. Okay, there is an adult patch. Oh, maybe that's what I was seeing then. Okay, cool. I guess we're good then. All right. See you over in Tofi's chat. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.